All right. Good Monday evening, everybody. Glad to have you all here. Glad to have Paul on the screen. And we're trying to get Jeff on the screen here right now. If you would like to join us on the screen as well, remember, I just pasted the link to our StreamYard. It's also pinned at the top of the chat, and you can be an on-screen guest here on Carnivore Talk. We're going to talk all things carnivore. We're going to talk about histamines today a little bit. That's the subject for today that we'll touch on lightly. But of course, we're going to talk about other things too, like, your progress and your results and your successes, and also your challenges. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Preface it with a couple of cues and make sure you use a question mark. The software I use will highlight that, so I do see it. And then please be patient, because as the evening goes on and more guests enter, we tend to get carried away and we get behind on the comments. So we do answer all questions. And so if you have to exit before we get to your question, come back and watch it on the replay. We will get to it eventually. All right. In other news, I would like to say that today is the 26th. So there's literally 6 days left for our $100 Carnivore Crisp giveaway. And there's different ways to enter that. Being an on-screen guest gets you an entry. In fact, we'll throw in a couple entries for that. Being a member of the channel will get you a number of entries depending on which tier you join. But it's also, to make this legal, there is a free way to enter. The free way is to go to carnivoretalk.com, register for an account, and participate in the January World Carnivore Month topic. Every post that you make to that topic counts as one entry. And then next Monday, we will put it up on the screen and spin a little randomizer wheel and pick a few names, and whoever's the first name obviously is going to get the first dibs at getting this prize. And then we'll work our way down the list if they don't claim it, because obviously what we'll need then is some sort of contact information from you. The only caveat is you have to be in the United States, and because for a couple of reasons. One, I know I'm doing things legally in the United States. I don't know if I'm doing it illegally in other countries. And two, it's a gift card for Carnivore Crisp, and I don't know if they deliver beyond the continental United States. So those are the only prerequisites for that. All right. Now let's see here. I'm going to text Jeff. I texted it with my other number. Did you get it? All right. All right. So we'll start our day by talking to Paul. How have you been this last week? How much have you been impacted by this last storm?
Well, it started, 4 o'clock Sunday morning. We got 11 inches. Mm-hmm. The top is a little crusty. I shoveled out today. I cleaned off my car. I moved my vehicle so they could plow the parking lot, and I'm back together. But the roads here, they didn't plow until it stopped snowing. So when they plowed, they were plowing 11 inches. And saw the plow go by the main road, and he had the hammer down. They were speed plowing, and it was a sight I haven't seen in a while. And but that's all over. It's just going to take days to get back to normal. The salt, wherever they put salt, it's melting nicely. But I looked at the 15-day forecast. We do not have a day here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, that's above 30 degrees for the next 15 days. Mm-hmm. And in February, it goes down to -3 one night and 7 degrees the next day. Very cold. And
yeah. We've had similar experience here. We've got probably the worst snow than I've seen in 20 years. And I think I'm getting some feedback from your screen, David. I think. Do you have the chat open? Do you have StreamYard and YouTube open? If so, could you close YouTube? All right. Okay, yeah, so it's the worst
StreamYard
snow.
open.
I tell you what, I went and I had to snowblow my driveway twice yesterday. Probably every bit of 14 to 16 inches. What was on top of my truck was like this high. It was insane. And I went over and did my parents a couple days. So it's cold. It's like 10 degrees. Crazy amounts of snow. We actually, when we plowed our driveway the first time, we actually went out to get a few things from the local store down the street. And aside from the store, everything was closed. And it was kind of surreal because I've just never seen the weather close everything down like that. And so yeah, and as far as snowstorms go in recent history, man, it was a whopper. We got completely buried. Jeff, I see you made it.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. I go through this just about every week. On the website, you'll post what it says, the link, StreamYard, but when I click on it, all it does is take me to another page. There's no link there to get to StreamYard. And I don't know, sometimes I stumble across a different page that'll have the proper link. But more often than not, I just struggle trying to find it. I'm not very computer literate, I guess.
Do you say
how everybody else gets it, but I can't seem to find it.
Yeah. Do you say you go to the website like Carnivore Talk?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't post the StreamYard link. Well,
it has been there in the past. I found it there in the past.
You know what? There is a thread. I'll have to check and see if the link has changed. The very first post about with the Bob and Geezy thread,
right?
I think had it. So, but like when we post the calendar events, and then post that link in the topic, then that doesn't actually. That's just a YouTube link, not the StreamYard link. But I think you're right. The StreamYard link, because we used to require that people go to the site to get the StreamYard link. And then we have changed that since then. So yeah, that might. I'll have to go look at that.
And I got the StreamYard app on my phone, but that doesn't help me out any as far as finding this.
Yeah. So remember, it's always, well, not always, but if you come to the YouTube video, I'm usually pin it at the top of the chat, or I've posted it in the chat.
Well, that's how I got here this time.
Yeah.
But more often than not, I like to get here early.
Right. Yeah.
And I can't find a link. So I guess what I'm going to do is you sent me a link on a different number. So I'm going to save that, and I'll just use that next week.
Yeah. That's my, that's my business number for my tile business. That's
all right.
I can do that one on the computer. And but I have no easy way of getting to StreamYard on my phone, on that request. That's why I did that.
Right. So what I'll do is, like I said, I'll save that, and I'll just use that next time, because that should take me to the same channel.
So how much have you been brutalized by this winter storm down there in Texas? You actually have a winter hat on.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, it's about 40 degrees here in the shop, and I got two space heaters, one on either side of me right now, so they're keeping me tolerable. Yeah, it's let's say I think I woke up this morning, it was 11 degrees, and we generally don't get a whole lot of snow. We got a little bit of snow, but more often than not, we get freezing rain or we get sleet, and so we got a bunch of both. My rain gauge right now, it got warm enough today with the sun on the rain gauge, it melted it. It shows five inches of water in it. So we got some good moisture, and we needed it, but it's slicker and snot on the doorknob out there right now. It's just a sheet of ice practically. And so we're getting out long enough to feed the livestock. Then we get back in and we're binge watching movies and whatnot, trying to just staying warm. And the this new house of mine ain't quite as tight as my old one, and so it gets a little chillier than my old one did. And so we've got a couple oil heaters, oil radiator heaters in the house, helping to keep us at least up to about 67 degrees. So we deal with it, and it's not like this is anything new to us. We get this every year, and thankfully the beauty we have is it doesn't last. I mean, tomorrow it's going to warm up and all this is going to start melting away. So it'll stay with us for 2-3 days, then it's over. And we may not see another ice storm. We may see another one. You can't tell with Texas. But we're just thankful that it doesn't last long. We deal with it. It's not that big a deal. It just gives me a little vacation because I don't have to get out and get much work done.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, here in Ohio, we're having a Arctic blast coming straight down frigid air from the North Pole. It's currently 6 degrees, probably going down to 0 tonight. And we're not looking at any chance of this melting probably in the next 2 weeks. So it's going to be below freezing.
Yeah, that's where we're blessed.
Until further notice.
That's where we're blessed. It kicks in just long enough. This is our winter. Mm-hmm. It's going to last a couple of weeks, and the next thing I know, we'll be going into spring.
Very nice. A little jealous coming here from the snow belt in Ohio.
Yeah.
Then finally, let's say hi to David B. You want to mute yourself, and how's your week been?
First of all, I'm using the laptop, so can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. Well, I spent 4 hours this afternoon, starting in the morning and in the mid-afternoon, shoveling snow so that get out of the driveway. So I'm a little tired, and I'm probably not going to stay the whole time. And just like you, Bob, it's going down to 0 tonight. It's 7 degrees here in northern Kentucky. So we're the Valentine's Day is the last night, according to the forecast, that we will be below freezing for this season. So we got 2 weeks of more than 2 weeks of below freezing at night. Anyway. And then this week we're just in around 0 every night, and I know Bob, you all are too. So but that's what's going on around here. But for me, my health is good. 67 years old and 4 hours shoveling snow, and I'm just sore. So I thank Carnivore for that and the Lord. And I've been on the Lion diet since January 1, and I've been very faithful with that. I've got bone broth instead of coffee. I've been off coffee all month. I'll probably continue on into February with
it. Okay, very good.
I'm healing up. Some stuff's healing up. My skin has gotten better. And I saw your headline about histamines, and so I'm very interested in that because I believe I do have histamine issues and inflammation issues. And I was bloated when I was having dairy products. Eggs and if eggs aren't, if you don't pull the egg right out of the, like Jeff does, right from underneath the hen and fry it, you eggs from the supermarket can have histamine, and pork has histamine, it's high in histamine, so I gave that up too, and so all the things that I think are causing maybe some issues for me, I'm not eating right now, so I'm going to try to not eat those things for as long as long as I'm willing.
Okay.
So I'm just grateful that I'm feeling real good. I'm sure I'm going to sleep like a baby tonight, which means I'll probably wake up crying.
So
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, right after I said I could hear you, your volume got extremely low, and
Did it?
yeah, it did. And so I'm trying to really listen to what you're saying. It sounds like you have cut out dairy and eggs and have noticed improvements that could possibly be related to histamines and those products that you've since given up. Does that sound right?
Yes, that's right. Can you hear me better now?
Not really.
Might have to go back on the phone. I don't know.
Okay, that'll be fine. So,
yeah. And pork also. I gave up pork and bacon.
Okay, yeah.
And they're known to have histamines. So.
Right. Very good. Well, yeah. Well, we're going to talk about histamines more tonight. And if you want to try bouncing back on your phone with your phone, that might be worth a shot. Let's go over and say hi to those in the comments section. We had, and again, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in there. We will get to all of them. And if you would like to join us on screen as our guest, remember we have the link pinned at the top over here on YouTube. And you can join us with your device and be part of our crew here. We can hold up to 10. Last week we had 8 at one point, so there's plenty of seats still available, and we certainly enjoy having a nice face-to-face, voice-to-voice discussion with everyone. First in the door was Linda Flanagan at 7:23. It's awesome. I posted this at 7, so thanks for being the early bird. And yes, she says, looks like I'm the first again. Yes, you were. She also says, will you say a prayer for my grandson that he gets back home safe from Kansas City to Texarkana? The plane he's on was stuck on the runway in Kansas a while ago. Okay, yeah, we will indeed do that. Was he stuck as in unable to take off? Are they behind departures, or is it just because of the conditions from the storm or whatnot? You don't have to answer that if you don't want. I'm just curious. So, but yeah, we certainly hope he gets home safe from Kansas just fine. All right, Bacon Runner is in the house, and David B from Kentucky, and we have good evening from Maine with lots of snowflakes. I'm sure you have lots of snowflakes up there. Yes, indeed. All right, and we have Buenos Dias de North Carolina, amigos, from Terry. Glad you could join us. Brian Dish is here, and so is Coach Juliet Edens and Carnivore Jerry. I imagine listening from work, because that's usually the case with Carnivore Jerry, and we're glad you make the effort to do that. That's fine. Here's Papa Carnivore. Good to see you, as always. Feel free to hop on if you feel so inclined tonight.
Also known as Pretzel Pete now.
Pretzel Pete.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I am not informed on where that comes from.
Yeah, you had to be there.
All right. And then let's see here. Free Thinker is here. And Uncle Charlie. Hey, Uncle Charlie, you can jump on too. We've had you on here in the past. And Free Thinker, Carnivore Whisperer. And we got Sandy Blythe giving us some nice compliments here. Thank you. And let me scroll down the list here. $100 for 6 carnivore crisps. Not interested. That's funny. Well, the carnivore crisps, they're not. I mean, they're pricey, but they're not. If I was, it's better than carnivore bars, like because carnivore bars are like you would only get a few of those. So, but hey, if you have never had them before, free carnivore crisps is still free carnivore crisps. So. And I've had them before, and I actually do like them. So, but yeah, at the same time, I don't get them very often. I've had one carnivore bar, and I mean it was really tasty. I really liked it, but it was $16 for one protein bar. So I've seen a bunch of YouTube videos on how to make those on your own, and that's something that I want to try and do someday because $16 for a protein bar is obtuse. So, all right, bacon runners here. Where Carnivore Whisperers is -1 right now with 13 inches of snow. Yeah. This weather system was something else. I think there was over 2,000 miles of winter weather warnings stretching from Texas all the way up through Maine. And when it was originally coming, we weren't expected to get any of it. And then there was then one day it just changed trajectory, and all of a sudden now we were in the 10 to 16 inches of snow range. And believe me, we got every last drop of it. And all of a sudden now we were in the, let's see here. Papa Carnivore ain't 100% carnivore. He eats pretzels. Okay, so I don't know what the pretzels thing. I know he sometimes eats an occasional fruit or vegetable like I do, and there's no harm in that. So
we were on another live stream, and he had mentioned that he ate a pretzel, a small pretzel.
Oh yeah.
So he's been Pretzel Pete ever since.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, if he had a pretzel, I'll let that slide. So
pull his card.
No, I'm not pulling his card over if he just had one pretzel. So we pull your card when you adopt the sad diet again. That's when we pull your card. So, all right. Let's see here, 11 inches of snow and still snowing where Bacon Runner's at. Papa Carnivore says, yes, it's me, Pretzel Pete. So he's wearing it with like a badge of honor. So that's good.
Yeah, he is.
All right. Linda Flanagan's got 1 or 2 inches of snow and quite a bit of ice. And here's a question for Paul. Why are you on insulin, Paul? You want to answer that for Uncle Charlie?
I have tested my C-peptide, which is the indicator of how much insulin your pancreas is making, and it's very low. I'm at the kind of like, I respond in a lot of ways. My body responds as a type 1 diabetic. I've never been officially diagnosed with that. In the next month or so, I'm going to have another C-peptide test, see what the pancreas is doing. They're going to check a certain enzyme to see if my body's being attacked by itself and damaging my pancreas. And that's the LADA type 1.5, where type 2 diabetic kind of transitions down to a type 1. I'm almost off all my fast-acting insulin. I haven't had any in about, I don't think I've had any in the last 10 days. And as a report kind of thing, my blood sugars are good on a level amount of Lantus long-acting insulin. And I'm turning in lower numbers than I did 90 days ago. And of course, the meter gives you all these reports and everything. And so I'm actually seeing my 90-day average is dropping. You got to have a lot of effect on, day to day to start dropping that number because it's a 90-day average. Of course, the 91st day drops off, and if it was high, that helps too. But I've been seeing nice blood sugars right around. I've been averaging about 100 all day long, and anyway, I don't think it has anything to do with it. Maybe it does, maybe it don't. I don't know. But I am now I'm going into about my 5th week with no diet soda, and I was a heavy consumer of that. I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not. And maybe just one other note on diabetes. I Google things, and I stumbled across a 6 or 7 month old thing on Tony Hampton's site. It was a 6 or 7 month old post, and he was talking about if you're doing all the right things so far, you got the diet down, and you're intermittent fasting and doing all that kind of stuff. Maybe you can go another step further. Maybe there's a supplement you might need. And he listed out about 8 of them for diabetics that he thought were important, the most important ones that you might want to take a look at. So I made that list, and then I Googled, I'm looking for a combination of supplement in one pill that contains, and I listed those 8 things. And of course, AI did a great job. I'm very grateful for this. And it came back with about 4 brand names that met my requirements. So I kind of went on, I went and looked at all 4 of those, and I picked one, ordered it. Supposed to get here Thursday. And I started taking, I guess it's 2 capsules a day. It was only $20, which is, in the supplement world, that's not too bad. So it's 67 cents a day to take the stuff. And, we do hear reports from time to time where somebody who's a diabetic will take chromium or magnesium or something like that, and their body was just short on it for whatever reason. And, and that was the key. All of a sudden they're not diabetic anymore, or vastly improved. I'm not expecting anything like that, but I'm looking for any edge I can get. And, I do hope in the future that my Lantus insulin dosage go because I can start turning that down. Right now, I don't seem to be able to do that without affecting my blood sugar. And, but yeah, I don't have, my pancreas just doesn't crank out the insulin like it used to. And that number, a C-peptide test too, that I discovered with me was, the results are usually accurate, but I probably did, I think on Own Your Labs, the C-peptide test costs about $40. And over the 2 or 3 year period, I probably did 6 or 7 of them. I had several data points. And I had some that said, hey, you're making plenty of insulin, you should be fine, but in general, they were on the low side. So I just kind of take that one as an extraneous number, a bad data point that creeped in. And so, but if I can increase my insulin sensitivity and, other things, then I can possibly lower the insulin that I'm taking. And I'm almost ashamed of how much. I'm not ashamed, but I think I take a lot of insulin. But when I look at the literature, the dose that I'm on is not extraordinary. And there's people out there taking more than I take. And but I would like to see it less. But
yeah, so there you go. So and another comment here, Uncle Charlie says, Paul, how are you on insulin if you're 100% carnivore? And so he just explained it, and he does quite often on these Monday Night Lives, because that's a question that, it's a fair question. And obviously his condition is quite unique. His type 2 diabetes isn't exactly type 2. It's not quite type 1. And and so therefore, he still needs to take insulin, just like a type 1 would, by the way. So there's a special name for that. I don't remember what it was, but like a type 1 diabetic can go full carnivore. They can never get off insulin. They always will have to take insulin, so that's just.
And I have conversed with type 1 diabetics on the internet. They're only taking 6 to 10 units of Lantus insulin a day. That's all they're taking. And they're controlling, they've got an A1C of 5.5. So they're doing wonderful on very little insulin. And, I'm not as active as I need to be. And that's part of it. And I'm trying. I got the dumbbells here, and I do a lot of, I don't know. It's like if I go to Walmart, I park as far away as I can from the door, and I use the entrance as the farthest from where I'm going to in the store. So I get a walk, and but I used to, when I first started all this 5 years ago, I did a lot of exercise. And I was walking 4, 5, 6 miles a day. And that may have affected my rapid drop in blood pressure. I don't know. But carnivore doesn't always lower blood pressure right away. But mine, within 2 months, my blood pressure went boom, right down to normal.
All right. So now let's go back to some other questions. So there you go. I hope you had your question answered, and that's why the case is. So I can see some of your other chats, which I highlighted. We're gonna get to them too, where you seem to be, if you're carnivore, why are you taking medicine kind of mentality, and there are various reasons for that, which we'll get to. Papa Carnivore explains himself here. He says, I had 3 mini pretzels last week, and it gave me gas, bloating, and distress down below. Took 3 days to get back to normal. No more pretzels for Pretzel Pete. Okay, yeah, so there you go. And this is someone who's been a fairly loyal and rigid carnivore for several years now, So he had a few pretzels. It's not the end of the world. So, and like I said, we'll let this one slide. You learned your lesson. We'll let you out of timeout now. Welcome back. You're once again Papa Carnivore, not Papa Pretzel. You guys ain't 100% carnivore. No, not everybody has to be. So, there's no special merit badge you get for being 100% carnivore. On the panel right now, probably the 3 other people besides me on the panel are 100% or almost 100% carnivore. So Jeff, I know for sure he's up to close to 1,000 days, doing great. Okay, I am 97% carnivore. Once or twice a month, I might eat a plant. Piece of fruit, go out to eat, have a side vegetable, whatever we go out to eat. Or wherever the family decides to go out. When the family wants to go out to eat, we make sure we go somewhere that's carnivore friendly. If I'm going to cheat, I'm going to cheat with keto. But here on Carnivore Talk, we endorse a carnivore-centric diet, meat heavy, using the definition of humans are a hypercarnivore, which is what all the doctors say. And that means you get 70% or more of your nutrition from animal sources. So, and I think most of us are getting 95 or more, So go ahead, Jeff.
992 days as a carnivore. Mm-hmm. Out of those 992 days, I can count on one hand the number of times I've had something that wasn't 100% pure carnivore.
Probably one finger.
No, because I still every once in a while I'll let a jalapeno popper slip in there,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So, I like my jalapenos, but I don't eat them on a regular basis. And you are what you normally eat. I normally eat nothing but meat, salt, water, period. Mm-hmm. That's it. I don't have coffee. I don't have tea, nothing. The only seasoning I use, 99% of the time is going to be salt. So judge all you want there, Uncle Charlie, but some of us are carnivore. And, you look at the vast carnivore community, there's very few people that are 100% carnivore all the time. A little stray here or there, like Papa Carnivore having 3 pretzels doesn't mean he ain't a carnivore. He's still carnivore. Does anybody deny a cat is not carnivore? Yet a cat will eat grass. So, this dogma, you ain't carnivore because you didn't eat the way I ate, it don't cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would fit categorically into the last few words you used there. If you're that much of a carnivore cop or carnivore cultist, so
Yeah.
You can think that way all you want, but it's unrealistic. So good for you.
I mean, even Sean Baker goes off the scale every once in a while. When he travels.
Mm-hmm.
He just did 30 days eating carbs just as an experiment to see what it'd do to him.
Well, so while we're at that,
and yet he wrote the book.
Yeah, right.
Carnivore.
Yeah, so Sean Baker, he'll deviate from time to time. Ken Berry, if he cheats with keto. He regularly admits it all the time. Dr. Kiltz regularly admits from time to time he likes to have some French fries or something once in a blue moon.
That's like saying, would you ever say that a deer isn't an herbivore? Does everybody agree that a deer is an herbivore? Yet I have personally seen deer eat meat. I've seen deer cannibalize and eat other deer. Yet nobody ever says they're not an herbivore, just because they've eaten a little bit of meat once in a while.
Yep. And so there it is. So again, a proper human diet is definitely carnivore centric.
Yes.
Is generally, as Dr. Berry says, is on a scale between 0 carb carnivore on one end up to 100 carbs on the other, depending on your personal physiology and where you thrive on that scale, can vary from individual to individual. So a lot of people do thrive on pure carnivore. And once they give that a try and they go 30, 60, 90 days, they feel so good, they never give it up.
And
Other people, they want to reintroduce some stuff later on and still be carnivore, but, treat themselves to something now and again. And that's perfectly fine too. So,
and there's another thing, define carnivore.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the definition, talk to different carnivore doctors. Talk to the man who invented the term carnivore for the way we eat, and he wrote the book.
Yep.
I've had this discussion with people on forums before that say because you ate cheese, you're not carnivore. And yet the man that wrote the book said eating cheese is just fine on carnivore as long as your body can tolerate it, because it's still an animal food, comes from an animal. And then you've got others that will argue that honey, because it comes from a bee, is carnivore. I personally won't indulge in honey because I don't need that in my body.
Yeah.
But we have so many people these days that want to define it on their own terms. And yet the whole thing is a spectrum. There is no set definition for carnivore. Because like I said, even the animals that are considered carnivores don't eat 100% meat 100% of the time. So what is a carnivore?
And by definition, to back up what Jeff is saying, if you look it up in Merriam-Webster, it says a carnivore is an organism that primarily eats an animal matter. Primarily eats animal matter. So it doesn't necessarily mean exclusive. There are animals out there that are obligate carnivores. Humans are not one of them. So,
like I said, even they will eat plant matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, humans aren't one of them because the obligate carnivore obviously will, if they don't get the meat that they need, they will die. So that's
Yeah.
why they're obligates. So
The way I understand it, the best way to define carnivore is what is the species specific diet for the human being? What do human beings thrive on? What one food can they thrive on that they can't thrive on anything else? And that's meat. Meat is the one thing that provides every nutrient that they need to survive. And if you are eating a meat centric diet where more than 90% of what you eat is meat, I'm going to say you're a carnivore.
Yes.
I don't think anybody has to be all that dogmatic about it, because nature itself isn't that dogmatic about it.
Dr. Eric Westman points this out, like his keto, he calls it prescription strength keto because he took the keto diet and he crossed things off it. That's where you always hear about page 4. He took Dr. Atkins' diet and drew a line through certain things. He says, for my patients, they're not going to do this. Okay. And he had different reasons for some of the things he crossed off the list. And that's where you hear about that page 4. Everybody's looking for page 4. It's all over the internet. And that's, I think a list of what you eat is more beneficial than a triangle with pictures. I guess they got to start someplace. But, I was thinking about, I went to health class when I was in the 10th grade. We had a half-year class in health. I don't know as though I really learned anything beneficial that made me healthier for the rest of my life. I do remember being told to eat carrots and celery sticks was better than apple pie. It's the only thing I remember. But, we should really be teaching in high school. We should be teaching the importance of metabolic markers. Your HDL, your triglycerides, your height to waist ratio. They probably wouldn't allow that to even be taught because it'd be too shaming for, the students who are way off the height to waist ratio. But blood pressure, blood sugar, all those things. And that's what we ought to be teaching. And I guess I'm sure we don't. And so some of us are prescription strength carnivore, I guess.
Yeah. All right, getting back to our chat here. Carnivore Whisper says, "I'd like to say I'm carnivore, but I'll give up my card for a cup of coffee." So again, if you drink coffee, you can keep your carnivore card. That's completely all right. I would say that the majority of people who were coffee drinkers who went on carnivore did not give it up. So
I'm one of the few I know that did.
Yeah, Jeff gave his up.
But I don't
that gave it up. But
I don't look down on anybody else that didn't. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, I had to quit coffee for my health. I actually reacted poorly to coffee. It gave me health issues, so I gave it up for that reason. But other people drink coffee every day, all their lives, and it doesn't affect them one bit. And you know why? It's because the human body is resilient. Okay, so even if you are getting some amount of plant toxins in your coffee beans or some mold toxicity in your coffee beans, if you're not bombarding yourself with ungodly amounts of it, your body can deal with that, excrete it, and heal from any damage. And it's the same way with plants. We often hear this expression: "Plants are trying to kill you." Sorta. But there's plenty of people that eat plants all their lives and they are fine. Okay. But there's other people who eat exclusive plants, eat too many of a certain kind of plant, and they're sick and have autoimmune conditions. And when they cancel those out of their diet and they stop eating it, then they get better. So the human body is resilient as long as you're not abusing it, and that, for me, in the case of coffee, I was probably abusing it. I was a pot a day plus drinker. and that may have been part of my problem, was the sheer volume of coffee I would drink every day. And but I quit. My symptoms went away. I cured ulcerative colitis by doing so, and now after alleviating myself of all those problems, do you think I'm ever going to let coffee touch these lips again? Absolutely not. You know, as when you recover and heal like that, you don't go back. It's the same reason why I'm a carnivore 95% of the time, 97% of the time, because I've reversed multiple diseases, dropped a bunch of weight. I feel great. And it's given me like a second lease on life. Am I ever going to go back, you know, to the sad diet? No. Might I eat a pretzel someday? Maybe. But I'm not going to go back and get in the habit of eating that kind of processed food anymore. So I'm carnivore for life, just like probably most people here listening.
Same.
Jason says, day 26 on carnivore. I've been having to add DAO supplement due to histamine issues, but I've had histamine issues pre-carnivore already. So yeah, so here's a comment that's on topic, and that is something that we wanted to discuss. Histamine is found in actually all kinds of foods. So even in a lot of plants, especially fermented plants, your fermented sauerkraut, your fermented pickles, and the like, those can be high histamine. And you eliminate a lot of that when you're on a carnivore diet, but you don't eliminate all of it. And you could inadvertently be eating a lot of histamine in the form of aged beef products, canned fish. Usually any type of meat that's aged is going to be a high histamine food. And if you are sensitive to that, that might cause you problems. Most of us aren't, you know, but unfortunately some people are, and they struggle with aged cheeses, or they struggle with beef that's been aged, or they struggle with eggs. You know, we had someone on here earlier that was talking about, actually that was Dave. He was talking about he eliminated the eggs and the dairy, and he's just on a strict lion diet, and he's feeling great. And so, yeah, histamine intolerance can be a real struggle if you're on a carnivore diet. So the question is, how do you deal with that? So probably the best advice, well, you take DAO supplementation. So that could help, you know, that could definitely help. And
for those that don't know, that's diamine oxidate or oxidase.
Yeah.
Your body your body naturally produces it, but if you're having if there's something that's inhibiting it, or you're having an overload dump of histamine, then the DAO cannot keep up with it, and that's when you end up having the problem. And see, histamine can cause inflammation in the gut, and the gut is the main place where DAO is produced. And so if your gut's inflamed, it limits the DAO, which allows the histamine to continue inflaming the gut even that much more. So it can be a vicious circle there.
So how do I know I got histamine inflammation?
You'll know it can be in so many different areas. I mean, my gosh. Okay. Histamine intolerance symptoms can include anxiety, panic attacks, depression, headaches, migraines, brain fog, gut or GI issues, diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, itchy skin or rashes, hives, skin flushing, hay fever or allergy symptoms, sinus congestion or stuffy nose, eczema, asthma, acne, fatigue or lack of energy, sleep issues, insomnia, sleepiness, menstrual irregularities. I don't think you got to worry about that. Hormonal issues, heart palpitations or racing heart, shortness of breath, low blood pressure, swelling of the lips, tongue, or throat. That's just some of the common stuff. And all those can be the result of something else. So trying to determine what it is, it's tough to do. So what you have to do when you have something like this, look at what you're eating. You said make a list. I think that's an excellent idea. List the things you're eating. List them throughout the day, even if it's just a snack. And then if you're having issues, then go through your list, see if there's anything there that could be high, that could cause high histamine intolerance, and eliminate that and see if that doesn't help.
Right. Yeah. So good advice. Go ahead.
And another thing, histamine intolerance can be brought on by oxalate dumping. And, you know, and oxalate dumping can go on for years. It can take years to get it out, according to Sally K. Norton. You know, so there's the best thing you do, and I've seen people comment on it, is eat as clean a diet as you can. And for some people, like David, going to line is the best way to do it. And then you can add back in later on, add something in and see if anything changes. And if it doesn't change, then you can go ahead and keep that. But if it does change, you know that was your culprit.
Now, even the lion diet, you know, you could still struggle with this on the lion diet.
True.
Again, depending with the age of the meat. And so that comes to some more of the tips. You know, aging is a huge factor. Histamine, the longer something is aged, the higher the histamines go. So a couple of strategies you can have is get your fish, your beef, your eggs, try and get them as fresh, close to the source, as harvested, you know, within not too long, as much as you can, and utilize it that way. Also, if you like to buy in bulk, get those things and freeze them immediately. So if you buy something that's been freshly slaughtered or harvested and freeze them, then that will delay or slow down or maybe even halt the development of histamines, because you know, freezing helps preserve the food that way. And then things that are smoked, aged, fermented, processed meats especially, you know, they could have been around, you know, aged for a long time. Those are going to be an issue. Ground meat, unless you ground it at home, could be an issue, because the more surface exposure available for bacterial growth can raise histamines as well. And then if you might want to avoid organ meat, because histamines are known to be higher in organ meat as well. So, and
the areas I see most people reacting to most on histamines are going to be itchiness, rashes, runny nose, this type of thing. And you know, if it's something that's really bothering you, like you said, make a list and eliminate the things that could be causing that.
Yeah, track what you eat, you know, so you can kind of mirror what, you know, your symptoms with the things that you've been putting in your mouth, you know, and see if you can't recognize a pattern there. Also, be careful when you store leftovers, because leftovers, again, they'll begin to age and rise in histamines pretty fast. Try and cook from frozen right away. You could also try boiling. Now, I personally don't boil meat, but I've heard Rick, Charger Mopar, and some other individuals talk about boiling their meat.
Other than corned beef.
Yeah, boiling is known to lower the histamine content as well. So those are some things that you can try. And then I do know of one unique case where someone could not eat beef steak, ground beef, you know, without having some sort of reaction. But for some reason, they could eat bison with no reaction whatsoever. So their carnivore diet, instead of being primarily beef based, which is what most of us are, hers was primarily bison based, and she was able to succeed with that.
Darn bad luck, because man, bison's one of my favorites. I got two of them out there in my daughter's pasture right now, and we're debating when we're going to butcher them.
Wow.
Now, one thing I want to say about histamine is we tend to vilify it because it causes reactions in our bodies that aren't pleasant to us. But at the same time, histamine is not a bad guy. Histamine is a good thing. It actually works with our immune system to fight off infection and inflammation. You know, so it's a natural thing for us to have. What we don't want is we don't want it to overflow. We don't want too much of it. That's where our DAO, as Jason is having to take a supplement in, that's where the DAO comes in, and it helps break it down, because you're going to have a histamine. You get a cold, you're going to have histamine. It's part of the process to fight the infection. But your DAO is supposed to handle it. So you've got to have a healthy gut to start with. Your gut has to be healthy to produce the DAO. So always work towards having a healthy gut. One of the things that for a healthy gut is yogurt. There's different kinds of yogurts that can really help with the gut. I know Bob mentioned fermented foods. They can cause histamine response, but at the same time, they can also help your gut. So histamine is not a bad thing unless the DAO can't handle it, and then it becomes something that turns out bad for us.
Over the past 5 years, I've had undiagnosed skin issues where they sent me to a dermatologist. They did biopsies. They did cultures, did this, did that, and sat there and said, we have no clue what's wrong with you. And I'm just wondering, if I didn't have a histamine issue and had this scratchy, patchy, bleeding rash, on my body, and it's taken years for it to go away. And it's 99% gone now. But I just, maybe with the carnivore diet, I got rid of enough histamines that I'm okay, but nobody can explain my skin issues that I had. They just said, we don't know.
It could be anything, and it could be a result of an overload of histamine. Your body's going to produce histamines, but it could be oxalate dumping. It could be a combination. It's hard to say. The only thing, this is where we always say that this is an elimination diet. Eliminate everything that's bothering you. Eliminate everything that could be bothering you. And then once things clear up, add some stuff back in one at a time and see what happens. And when I say one at a time, I don't mean add it in today and, okay, well, nothing happened, so tomorrow I can eat all I want of that. No, you add it in and you go 2-3 weeks with that one item added, and see what happens. And if after 2-3 weeks nothing happens, that may be something you can go back to eating again.
All right, very good. All right, let's see here. Papa Carnivore says, my new food that I got recently were canned Icelandic cod livers. Donna told me about them. They're absolutely delicious. I eat them right out of the can with a fork, tender and awesome. I have never had a cod liver.
Neither have I.
I
don't know that I've ever even seen them in the store, but maybe that's just because I ain't looked for them.
They're probably over there with sardines and salmon and stuff like that,
Enough people talk about them. I think I'm going to have to see if I can't find some and try them out.
All right.
All this canned fish comes in plastic lined tins.
What's that?
Plastic lined. All this sardines, mackerel, all that stuff is packaged in a metal tin that's lined with plastic.
Yep, that could be.
I think we got too much plastic in our diet, and I try to avoid plastic as much as I can.
Yeah, that could be too. There's there's some things that I've modified, like I don't use plastic cutting boards anymore. I use wood cutting boards, but I'm still going to eat sardines. I'm not sure if that plastic lined can is true of sardines. I know it's true of like soda. If you drink canned soda, those cans are lined with plastic on the inside. I do know that. So probably all cans are, now that I think about it. So who knows?
Virtually all are.
You can't eliminate plastic completely from your life. All you can do is reduce it as much as possible.
Right.
All right. So it is 9 o'clock. Just turned 9 o'clock. So I'm going to post the link in the chat. So everybody over on X and Facebook, as well as YouTube, can see it. Feel free to click on that link and join us on screen as our surprise guest. We'd love to have you here. It doesn't matter if you're carnivore or interested in carnivore, have questions about carnivore or aren't carnivore. You know, we're just all we're interested in is a family-friendly interchange of encouragement between individuals. So feel free to join us on screen if you would like. We have 61. This is kind of exciting. Last week we hit 64. That was our record. And we're at 61 now, which is one on Facebook and everybody else on YouTube. So, if YouTube did this with multiple people on the screen, I could probably ditch StreamYard, because that's the only reason why I really need that function. Also, if you're watching, please hit that like button. That helps the algorithm push this out to other individuals who might be looking for live content to watch. And if you have an opportunity to share it somewhere on social media without it being unwanted spam, you know, that would be a great help as well. Thank you. Papa Carnivore says he'll come on the screen when he gets home. Okay, well, that would be good. We look forward to that. Aaron Booby Goat says it's 11 degrees in Middle Tennessee. That's burr chilly. So,
is there any way to search on YouTube for what's live right now by category at all, or?
Well, I can go to live. I don't know by category, but if I go to live, it'll show me a bunch of lives, but I'm sure there's a lot more than the ones they show me going on. So I don't know how to fine tune it.
Okay.
And if I'm subscribed to individuals, down the left side, if they are live, they'll be at the top and it'll be highlighted that they're currently live.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And then, of course, you can always subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to be notified when a new video or a new live is released for a particular YouTube content creator that you're particularly interested in.
Yep.
Uncle Charlie says, went to the doctor. AFib is gone. Thanks, Carrie Mann. That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Yep.
I know the feeling.
Yep. He's gotten rid of his AFib also, and a lot of people have the power of a carnivore diet.
In fact, my heart flutters. I mean, I'm off all my medication, have been for over a year and a half now. And even what little bit of heart flutters that I had in the past, where I would have, 10, 15, 20 of them a day, some of them so strong that it would just make me stop in my tracks and wonder if this was the one. And they got less and less, got to where it'd be 2 or 3 a day. Then it got down to 2 or 3 a week, and they were so mild I barely noticed them. And now I might have 1 or 2 a month, and that's it. Just a little bitty flutter, barely feel it. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing when you can heal your AFib.
All right. Uncle Charlie says, what do you do for work that you're on a computer? So I think that's probably targeted towards me. I mentioned sending you the link to the StreamYard.
Oh, yeah.
Using my so I own my own business. I'm a bathroom remodeler and tile installer, and I use a Google Voice number on my business cards and in my advertising, and so I can click a tab, go over to Google Voice, and text or make calls right here in my web browser instead of using my mobile phone. So that's what that had to do with. So I am my own accountant and my own bookkeeper and my own estimator. And I wear all the hats in my company. So that's what I do. He also asked this question: can you eat Mr. Jones sausage and chicken in a bag from Costco? And so I would have to look up what's in these. Let's see here.
All depends on the ingredients.
Does he mean rotisserie chicken?
I think he means a rotisserie chicken. Yeah. So that depends what's in it. It probably has a few unclean ingredients in the seasoning that gets brushed on the skin. If I mean, you know, if you're strict and you don't want that, find out what it is, and if it's got something you don't want or you react to, then stay away from it. I would have no problem whatsoever wolfing down a rotisserie chicken once in a while. I do once in a while, probably like 3 times a year. So yeah, that would whatever little tainted ingredients is in it is kind of such a small portion.
You got to look at the ingredients and decide for yourself what you want to put in your body.
I just looked up
sausages is the hardest thing to find clean ingredients in, unless you make it yourself. Now, I have people make my sausage. I'll have producers make my sausage from the animals that I raise. And so I know what's in it. But I remember one time I was at the grocery store when I first became a carnivore, and I was learning to read labels and actually understand them. And I picked up this package of chorizo that I love chorizo. And this was the brand of chorizo I normally got. And I pick up this package and I'm reading on the back of it, and I'm looking at all this stuff, and it's like a science project. And I come across soy grits. And I turned to my wife and said, "What the heck is a soy grit, and why is it in my chorizo?" I said, "I don't believe I want this stuff anymore, because I don't want any soy in me at all, let alone soy grits." And so now I still eat chorizo, but what I do is I go to the carniceria where they make it fresh, and I know what's in it, and it doesn't have a bunch of junk in it. It's not preserved. And turns out it's better chorizo anyways. So yeah, you got to check those ingredients. For the longest time, I thought some pepperoni I was buying was clean. It was right there in the deli, and I was reading the label, and I thought, hey, this is clean stuff. And then I learned what the 75 different names with sugar, what sugar was called. 75 different names. And guess what? One of them was in that pepperoni.
And when you go across the ocean, they never say sugar. They use a different name for it. Dextrose is a big one.
Yeah, that was the one that I found out right there. I think it was dextrose that was in the sugar or in the sausage.
Yeah, I just looked up Mr. Jones sausage, and it says ingredients: pork, water, salt, spices, sugar. Now, how much? It says total carbohydrates and 3 links is 1 gram. So, it's just a trace amount. I would still eat
carnivore.
It's carnivore. I would still eat it. It's the same thing with when you go buy bacon, bacon basically says the same thing: pork, water, salt, spices, sugar, and how much sugar are we really talking about? It's a trivial amount. It's in the brine, that they soaked it in. So I don't think it's that big of a deal, but your mileage may vary. So that's entirely up to you.
Well, one trick you can do is I bought a bulk breakfast sausage spice. I was able to read the ingredients. It does like 25 pounds of meat. I just use it. I take my fatty hand ground beef, cook it in the frying pan, sprinkle it with this stuff, and I got a breakfast crumble sausage. It's got all the flavor I want. It's just my ground beef that I normally eat. I like it with my eggs.
All right. Keto Simple referring to carnivore crisps. They are not worth the price unless you have unlimited money. So I agree. I agree.
Make your own.
But, when I'm trying to think of a prize or incentive to give away that's going to be carnivore friendly, my options are kind of limited. So carnivore crisps seems like a good idea. I actually have another deal with carnivore bars that we will actually probably do later in the day and later in the year. And, we did this last year too. And last year, we actually advertised the giveaway on like Facebook and Google and stuff like that, and had all kinds of responses. This time we chose not to. Only the people who pay attention here on YouTube and in the forum, who are what would you say, kind of part of the family or loyal, as it were, they're the only ones who really know about it. So your chances of winning are actually pretty good this year compared to the past. He also says, I don't think carnivore bars are worth the money either. I understand they're high quality and made very well, but $17 for 20 grams of protein is a stretch. Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. And Carnivore Whisperer says, I made homemade carnivore bars yesterday. Pretty yummy. Already ate all of them. A pound of meat made 3 bars. How heavy were the bars? So that, because that, well, I mean, actually, that might not explain much because, how much is a pound of beef, pound of ground beef where you're at? Put it in the comments. I'm kind of curious. For me, I can still get bulk ground beef at Sam's Club in the upper $4 range, like almost $5, and then I get my individually packaged grass fed 8515. Those are $6.09 a pound. So that's what I'm getting ground beef for. $4.99 for the who knows where it comes from beef, and then $6.09 for the grass fed beef. So yeah, you divide that by 3. That's material wise. That's $2, not including any other additives or fat you want to add to it. So it's still way cheaper than $17. SMH Cast says, this is Carnivore Talk. Yes, it is. We do tend to get off topic because this is actually, by design, a casual meeting of the friends here, so we're not actually teaching a class. We're associating with friends and answering questions as they come up. So we're just here to have a good time. And if you'd like to have a good time with us on screen, click the link that's pinned at the top so we can meet you face to face. Dr. Baker has a new video where he added carbs back for a month, mostly fruit. Yeah, so does he have a new one? Because I know he did that like a year and a half ago.
No, it's brand new. He went for 30 or 31 days. He added carbs back in.
Okay, so he's done this before. I remember him doing this, like I said, probably about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years.
He mentioned he felt fine. He had he started snoring again. He had a little bit of bloating. His bathroom breaks were more frequent, and he gained 10 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that'll do it. So I think if you're going to add,
he ate whole carbs,
right?
Mainly fruit, but he ate whole carbs. He didn't eat, processed junk or anything.
Right. Yeah. And I'm curious how much fruit he was eating. Because like Dr. Saladino, he suggests you eat like 350 to 400 grams of carbohydrates in the form of fruit or honey a day. And I think that's insane.
Yeah.
And I think I don't even know why you can call that an animal-based diet anymore at that point, because the majority of his calories is coming from carbs. However, if like me, you once a month you have a handful of blueberries or a couple strawberries or an apple or an orange once in a great blue moon, that's not going to put any weight on you, but if I was eating fruit by the bushel every day, I'd get fat again. I can't do it. So so that's interesting. I'll have to look up the Dr. Baker video and see it for myself.
And if you only ate it seasonally like our ancestors did,
Right.
It wouldn't be that big of an issue.
That's kind of like the majority of mine. I say it in a video. I got 2 cherry trees and 3 apple trees in my backyard. There's 1 week in July or late June I can actually pick cherries, and you got to be careful. You got to open them up, make sure there's not a worm in them. And so I'll graze the cherry trees, a little bit every day, and then the deer get them. Then by then the deer have eaten them all, or they all got worms in them. And then like the first week of August, I've got 3 apple trees. One of them tastes terrible. One of them is tasteless, and the other one tastes really good. And again, I might get anywhere between 4 and a dozen apples off that tree. Cause I sit there and chow them down. I might pick one once in a while when I let the dog out, but a week later they're gone. They're rotted, or the deer have picked all the ones that are within reach. So that's seasonal eating. Uncle Charlie says, Rob, why are you on blood pressure meds? So I think I'm the only Rob here. So I'm on because I have high blood pressure. Okay. And the reason I have high blood pressure is because I have stage 4, possibly 5 kidney disease. And so my kidneys are shot. They were shot before I discovered carnivore. and they are still shot even now, 3 years later. And so kidneys play a huge role in regulating blood pressure. And so I've had to, now the carnivore diet has helped. Okay, but it hasn't been able to help all the way to where I can get off meds. So I still take blood pressure medications, and it's because my kidneys are in such bad shape. So I don't have essential hypertension, but it comes from a carbohydrate-rich diet. I have what's called secondary hypertension, which comes directly from organ failure. And the first one, essential hypertension, sure, you can fix that with a carnivore diet. Blood pressure comes down, you can get off your meds. I've seen countless people do it. But if you have secondary hypertension due to organ failure, that's not likely to happen. So that's why I'm on blood pressure meds. Oh, we already talked about the sausage and the chicken. Question, can diet soda raise your insulin? Possibly. For some individuals, they are sensitive to the artificial sweeteners, and they'll have a what's that called?
People
Metabolic phase insulin response.
yeah.
So they'll drink the sweetness hits their tongue, and their body says, "Hey, we got sugar coming down the pipe," and then you release a bunch of insulin, and then of course there's no sugar coming down the pipe because it's just diet soda. Majority of people don't have that problem, but some individuals, yes, the artificial sweeteners will raise insulin, and certain artificial sweeteners are more guilty than other artificial sweeteners. So that can vary per person also. Jacob Klein, welcome. He says carnivore equals alpha-gal syndrome and affects histamine. Carnivore doesn't equal those things. Those things can be an issue. That's the subject for tonight. If you are histamine intolerant, that can be an issue.
Yeah, I'd like to see you to explain that one, cousin.
Yeah. Now,
alpha-gal is the same last name.
Yeah, alpha-gal. Oh, yeah. Okay. Alpha-gal syndrome. That comes from a bite from a Lone Star tick, and then you start having they call that anaphylactic allergic reaction to red meat, and for a time it can go away. Usually will gradually, very slowly go away, but for a time you're going to have this quite deadly reaction to red meat, and if you push it, you could die from it. So yeah, I mean that can be a real thing, but it doesn't come from carnivore diet. So which is the way your equal sign kind of implies. So, all right. Plants are trying to kill you. So some carnivores believe that. I don't. So they're trying to kill bugs and insects and stuff like that, and then obviously, yeah, there are plants that will kill you. There are some that are very poisonous. There are some that are just mildly poisonous, and eating them over the course of a lifetime causes chronic disease and stuff like that. So, but then, again, the human body is resilient, and, humans, a lot of people like to say humans have been eating meat as long as they've been breathing air and drinking water. Humans have also been eating various forms of plants for the same amount of time. So if you have issues that you want to be resolved, eliminating the plants is usually the best effort that you can make to try and resolve your chronic issues. And but that doesn't mean there aren't individuals out there who don't thrive eating an omnivorous or even vegetarian diet. Today's technology does make that possible. Although, with that subject in mind, I read a Reddit post today by an individual. There's a Reddit called Ex-Vegans, and this individual has tried to be vegetarian twice in their life, and they said that they just can't do it. They did it as a teen, and then they've done it again in their 20s, and what they noticed was that they were vegetarian for a couple of years, and they started to have depression and anxiety and mental issues and everything, and they thought it was probably a diet thing, so they didn't go carnivore, but they reincorporated meat into their diet, and their problems went away. So I thought that was pretty revealing, you know. So and it makes sense because, as we know, there's certain nutrients that the human body needs that is only available in meat, and there's literally no nutrients the human body needs that is only available in plants. So you have to eat meat. You don't have to eat plants.
And you know, the thing about plants that gets me, besides the toxins that are in them and the glyphosates that are sprayed on them and can't be removed, is the fact that our body just can't break them down enough to get the nutrients out of them. That's the main thing for me.
We don't have the digestive system for it.
We don't have.
We can't digest it.
And so, if we eat them, we've got to eat a lot more of them to get a little bit of nutrition, whereas we can get all the nutrition we need just from eating the meat. You know, and that's my main issue with the vitamins is they're not doing or the vegetables, they're not doing my body any good. That's why I choose not to eat them. I mean, you know, besides the fact all the healing I've had just from eating carnivore, but they don't provide nutrition for my body. So there's no sense in putting them in my body. You know, might as well eat cardboard as far as I'm concerned. You know, it's going to do me just as good. So I'll just stick with the meat.
If you had to figure out what to eat, if you got to figure out what to eat, just look at your digestive system and it says meat.
Yeah.
We're not designed to digest plants.
No.
And
not fiber. So just keep in mind that the human body does have a cecum, although it's small compared to other primates. Okay. And the human body also produces enzymes that will break down starches and carbs, starting with your saliva. Before it even gets in your throat, you've got enzymes in your saliva that start breaking down starches and carbohydrates. So, you know, does that mean you are by design able to eat plants? That's exactly what that means. So again, we can't be dogmatic about, you know, humans are an obligate carnivore. That's not the case. So
no, but what I was saying is our bodies aren't designed to break down and extract all the nutrients. Like, for instance,
now that's true.
Cow,
yeah.
Any ruminant breaks down the plant matter where they can extract the amino acids out of it, you know, that they actually get fat from grasses because their body can break down the amino acids in it, you know, to get to that fat. We don't have that ability. And so for us to get as much nutrition out of the plants that we get out of, let's say, one steak, how many plants do we have to eat to extract the same amount of equal nutrition out of it? Because if we're only extracting, let's say 40% of the nutrients that's in it, and I'm just throwing that out there, that's just a number in my head. Let's say we can only extract 40%, but we can extract 100% out of the meat. You know, the vegetables are worthless to me when the meat will do everything I need it to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, because you're going to get 100% out of the meat and you're going to get only a percentage of that nutrition out of the plant.
Right.
Because you got a lot of it you can't break down. A lot of it, there's anti-nutrients that bind to it. Fiber binds to it. So a lot of it doesn't even get absorbed in your stomach. It actually goes right through your intestine and out into the toilet. So yeah, that's absolutely true. And that doesn't happen with meat.
No. And I never saw a better example of that than from Kent Carnivore.
Yep.
You know, he has the best example of that I've ever seen. You know, he proved beyond a shadow of doubt we don't break down plant fiber. Not the way, you know, a ruminant can. Because I know when my ruminant animals eat something and they poop it out, you can't tell what it was they eat, what it was they ate. But if I go around eating a bunch of plants, you're going to be able to tell what I ate because it's coming out the same as it went in, only it's masticated now.
Yep. Particularly corn. For me,
Particularly.
corn looks the same coming out as it does going in.
Yep.
And tomato and tomato seeds. Yep.
So I think I digest a tomato just fine. I've never noticed. Seeds are too small for me to notice. I don't get there and investigate my stool that
I
close.
had a very short career in sewer water, and I could tell you about corn and tomato seeds in the summertime.
Well, that's actually all seeds. Seeds by design, an animal is supposed to eat the fruit, swallow the seed, and then plop the seed out in a fresh pile of manure somewhere so that plant can continue to produce offspring. So they're like that by design. Most seeds you eat shouldn't be digested. So Jacob Klein says, I get red bumps on the sides of my face and chin when I eat red meat. So that could be histamine.
That sounds like a classic histamine response right there.
Yeah. So try and buy as fresh as you can, knowing your local butcher is going to come in handy there. If you buy meat, take it home and freeze it right away. That'll slow down the process. And then also you can try boiling it. I don't know if I'd want to eat boiled red meat, but some people do and enjoy it. So, all right. Those are and then try other things too. If red, try different red meats. You try elk, try bison, try lamb. Lamb is known to be fresher. It doesn't sit around and age as long as like a beef does. So those are other options too, and try and find out for yourself what works the best. And of course, on a carnivore diet, there is no harm in eating chicken or fish or seafood either. So there's other options as well. Same principle would apply though. Make sure you get it as fresh as you possibly can. Tiago Morris, what is your ethical justification to kill an animal without necessity, or don't you?
I don't need one.
Yeah.
I don't need an ethical justification. All I need is the fact that I'm hungry.
Yeah.
And unlike most people around here, I'll tell you, I hope you're here to listen to this. I really am. Unlike most people around here, I kill my own animals. I kill them myself. So I take it to the next level. I'm not just going to the store and buying what somebody else did my killing for me. I do my own killing. So I don't need any ethical. There's no such thing as an ethical justification to kill an animal. I kill the animal because the animal is there for my food. That is why God gave me that animal, was for me to eat it. Plain, pure, and simple. If you believe anything else, then you don't believe in the same God I believe in.
Yeah, so I'll agree with that. As a religious person, I am scripturally given permission to eat animals, and then, but I'm not given scriptural permission to abuse animals. So we're also told to take care of our domestic animal, but we are allowed to use them for food, and we're not allowed to hunt them for sport.
Specifically read that in Proverbs this morning, not to abuse the animal.
Yeah.
And that's important, because I don't have a problem with taking an animal's life for me to have meat. I'm more concerned about the forefront to that animal had a good life. Okay.
My animals do.
Had a good life on the farm, and had a peaceful life, wasn't being threatened and chased by dogs, and when it finally did, its life was taken for us to sustain our lives with. At least nowadays, even on a commercial basis,
justification you need right there. Just what you
it's done. Yeah, it's done in a very humane manner, and and I don't know if this is true or not, but I can remember my uncles telling me when we butchered a steer that if you really knew what you were doing and had a really sharp knife, you could take that steer down very quickly across the throat. And he says that's how the Jewish people do it.
That's part of their kosher process.
Yeah, and
So,
I can remember the other joke that came out was, if you mess with an Italian girl and get her pregnant, there's going to be a shotgun. If you mess with a Jewish girl and you get her pregnant, there's going to be a knife.
Well,
Oops.
That's what I learned on the farm.
Well, and speaking of, when I was talking about raising my own animals, now, David, you've seen my farm.
Your first one.
Yeah, my last one that I was just at, same thing at my new one, but you've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
My animals look like they got a good life.
Yeah, they had smiles on their faces.
So yeah, the concept of an ethical justification is kind of silly. So, using animals for food is actually
That's the justification.
that's the justification right there. And it's and if you want to attach the word ethical to it, you can. So basically, like, using animals for food is consistent with our predatory and competitive roles in the global food web. So it's like asking a lion, what is your ethical justification for killing that gazelle?
He's hungry.
Exactly.
It's just ridiculous. Or you ask that eagle, what is your ethical justification for swooping down and picking up that field mouse? It's ridiculous, so
So I would ask him, what's his ethical justification for killing hundreds of thousands of more animals than what I kill in a year's time because he eats vegetables? Because I guarantee you, he is responsible by his eating habits killing more than I kill. Pure and simple. Through farming, farming kills more animals than what I do raising my cattle, sheep, and goats and killing and hunting deer.
Destroying habitats in order to have fields and fields of soy products and corn.
The insecticides,
killing
herbicides,
all those insects. What's your ethical justification for using pesticides?
I can show you pictures of deer that have been caught up in combines when they're harvesting wheat and corn. Yeah. No, don't come preaching to me, son, because I guarantee you kill a whole lot more than I kill.
There you go.
The difference is I'll look mine in the eye before I do it. Can you do that?
All right. Lioness Helix says, I've been on the lion diet for 26 days and I just finished 29 beef patties in only 3 days. Now I'm losing the weight, sort of. My blood sugar gets as high as 165 as of yesterday when I checked. Yeah, I mean, so, anytime you eat, your blood sugar goes up. It sounds a little on the high side, but, if it comes back down, that's no big deal. 29 beef patties in 3 days, though. Woo! You need one of those YouTube channels where
it's 2 pounds.
Go to these eating
it's just 2 pounds of beef. If they're quarter pounders, it's 2 pounds of beef. That's not
quarter pound.
No, that's impressive. That's still impressive.
Well, four would be a pound. 4 would be a pound, and that's 7 pounds across 3 days. Okay, yeah, All right,
now,
yeah,
I would
that's
ask.
about right. Okay.
So it's 2 pounds a day.
I would ask.
All right, thanks, Paul. According to Paul, we're not impressed.
Well, no, I'm just saying it's not. It's not abnormal.
Well, it's not abnormal, but okay, I can sit down. I eat on the average 2 pounds of meat a day, on the average, and Bob struggles to eat that much. Then you go look at Rick, and Rick does. He can do 4 pounds at one sitting, I think, if he wants to. And for a woman, a female, most females don't eat that much meat. So I'm finding that kind of impressive. But what I would wonder, and I just had hamburger today, before I came on, what do you do with the fat after it renders out? Because that's the problem a lot of people don't understand with beef. When you eat
back on.
Bingo. When you eat hamburger, you render out most of the fat that's in it. I don't care if you're eating 80-20, 70-30. When I make my hamburger, I make mine 70-30. But most of that fat renders out. And so I always have to take the fat and pour it back over the hamburger to make sure I'm getting enough fat. Because here's the thing. If you're eating, once again, it goes back to this. If you're eating too much protein and not getting enough fat, that can drive your blood sugar up. Too much protein is cannot be good for you. So you want to make sure you're getting plenty of fat in there.
No. Too much protein doesn't raise blood sugar. I've researched that through doctors, and Chafee and Baker and Barry and Bart K all say no.
Okay, well, I've actually heard Baker say that, and I would have thought I could swear I've heard Chafee say that too.
Here's what your liver does. There are hormonal signals that will be given to your liver to convert various things into glucose. Okay? And so protein is one of the last things on the list that it'll use. And this may vary from individual to individual. I don't know. But I wear a meter, and I and this is a question I had just before this topic came up. My hunger varies. I could go through 3-4 days when, man, I eat 1.5 pounds of ground beef, okay, with all the associated fat. Or like today, I only had about 8 ounces of beef. I was full. I couldn't eat no more, not comfortably. That's all I had today was about 8, 9, maybe 10 ounces of beef. That was it. Tomorrow morning, I may get up and have, 4 eggs, 3 strips of bacon, and 12 ounces of beef. And then, a little later on, I may make another 8 ounces of beef. My hunger, it doesn't stay the same. And I don't know, and maybe that's normal. I don't know. It's normal for me. And I can tell when I'm not hungry because it doesn't taste good. I'm sure my hunger signals were severely damaged in my first 65 years of life. I didn't know what true hunger was. And
well, most people don't.
But now I go a lot by taste, and my appetite. If I'm hungry, it seems to taste pretty damn good. Because, I think the thing we all get is, aren't you bored with ground beef? Aren't you bored with steak? Aren't you bored with this? If I am, I'm just not hungry.
Well, that's
exactly
I get
hungry.
That's what Sean Baker says is the true sense of hunger.
Yeah, it tastes good.
Yeah, or Chafee, not Baker. Chafee says that. That's when that's real hunger, is when you're desiring that meat. When you want it and it satisfies you. So you're saying that in your research that gluconeogenesis is not something that happens if you eat a high protein, low fat diet.
I'm not a,
because I've seen it talked about a bunch.
I don't have their background, but there's certain hormones in your body that send the signal to your liver to tell it to make sugar. Okay.
Yeah.
And
so,
but one of the last things it goes for is protein. There's other things that, like I say, I just can't remember what the things are, but because this concerned me for a long time because I've heard this way, that way, this way, that way. So I just got down to Google and YouTube researches, and I went and looked at these people these ones I mentioned. What do they say? Okay. And and one of the best 10-minute videos on it comes from Tony Hampton. And even though sometimes I don't like what Tony Hampton has to say, I found that like 95% plus of the time, you have to look at he's coming from a clinical context for his patients. And he is very good. And he has he explains a lot of complicated biological things. I mean, I don't know how to adjust my A1C for longer living red blood cells. But Tony Hampton's got a 10-minute video, shows you the math, how to do it.
Yeah, and Tony he's actually one of the few doctors you'll ever find that has actually studied nutrition. He has a master's in nutrition.
Yeah.
And I have heard him say, along with what you're saying, that no, eating high protein won't cause gluconeogenesis. But I've heard other doctors say that it will. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I'm just magnifying what others have said. And it's actually a moot point at this point because Lioness Helix has said she eats the fat along with it. So that's not the issue.
Yeah, now hers is getting as high as 165. Maybe she's got a similar condition that like Paul has, because yours will go up too.
There's so many elements. Here's the thing. If I have any criticism of the carnivore culture, I don't think we put enough emphasis on particularly type 2 diabetes. Every other person in this country is type 2 diabetic. Every other person. Okay? And they're either pre-diabetic, type 2 diabetic, undiagnosed of one of the two. Okay? Every other person. And it goes up 3 or 4% every year. And my son works a 50-hour week every week making legs, all cut off primarily for diabetes. 98% of all the legs they build are for diabetics.
Mm-hmm.
And he works a 10-hour day, 5 days a week. And they can't hire enough people. And they just expanded their facility, and they're almost out of room again. They got 70 technicians making legs.
I think the reversing type 2 diabetes is actually a common theme when carnivore diet is discussed. So we hear about it all the time.
Yeah, we do. I guess maybe sometimes my mouth opens before my brain engages completely. But I've got 4 lovely grandchildren. And the last thing I want to see is them make dietary choices in the future that are going to cause them harm.
Yes.
And, and that's why, I look at Mr. Kennedy there, Jr., and I agree with half the things he says. I think he's dead on. But I look at the other half of the things he says, and I don't think he's right. And, far be it from me to solve the world's problems and how we should do what for children. But I was a high school math teacher for 3 years down in North Carolina. And I was absolutely shocked at what the schools fed these kids for breakfast. Bread with margarine with sugar and cinnamon. That was very popular.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They would allow these kids on their meal ticket, that we're paying for as tax people, they could get a giant cookie. It was almost 5 inches or more in diameter. And
hopefully we'll see this change, with the new food pyramid and everything. That should have a ripple down effect into the school systems and so whatnot.
Who's going to pick up the cost is be the next question.
I don't know.
Because that's the first thing they're going to complain about.
As it is. So.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah. So, all right. So, yeah. So, anyway, Lioness Helix, good job. And, again, when you eat, your blood sugar goes up. That's a natural response. As long as it comes back down, relatively soon, that's great. On the subject of does protein raise blood sugar?
Yes.
Usually not. Okay. So Paul is correct. It's not likely to.
But there is a caveat. There is a caveat to that.
Well, I ain't done yet, so it can.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It can raise your blood sugar if you overconsume in one sitting, and it can possibly do it in the absence of fat, where the body then has to depend on gluconeogenesis. But even then, the rise in blood sugar is negligible, but it will have a minimal effect. This effect is more pronounced in type 1 diabetics. So, but Paul is right.
Yeah.
Usually those eating a high protein diet have better blood sugar control than those who are not on a high protein diet.
Yeah. in addition to that, what you say is very true, and consuming a large amount of protein, you will see the rise. You may not see it for 2-3 hours,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and then it may last 3, 4, 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Meat, I don't want to say the wrong word, but the digestive process of meat can be time consuming.
Yes. Yeah. So that's
It
true.
takes
That rise,
longer than
that rise from protein might occur 3 to 5 hours after consuming food.
right.
Now compare that to consuming simple carbohydrates, where that rise is almost immediate.
Yep.
So
Yep.
and that's the thing. Like with protein, it usually doesn't. There could be a slight rise, but it doesn't cause a spike. Whereas carbs will cause a spike.
Yeah.
Fasting. So. Yeah, there we go. Let's say hi to Kelly. He popped on the screen during this discussion here. How you doing, Broken Carnivore?
I am doing good. Just like everybody else that's in half of the United States surviving the cold and the snow.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jeff, but I'm glad I didn't get the ice.
Yeah. How much snow did you get?
About 5 inches.
No, okay, that ain't nothing. I tripled that.
They didn't. Well, they projected 6 to 8, but I don't think. And like towards the south of Missouri, southwest of Missouri, was supposed to get hammered, and they only got 5 inches, so it wasn't as bad as what they portrayed it. But I don't mind snow, but I hate snow removal, and that's what I had to do over the weekend. I had to camp out at work Saturday night and do a little snow removal Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm. All right. How's the is it the hip?
Yeah, I took off work today because it was stiff this morning. Normally I can have no problem walking at work, with the limp. I'd take a little rest and stuff, but with that snow, you can't take big steps, and it really stiffened up. And there was times that I was taking a bucket of ice melt and a cane just to get across the parking lot to do some stairs. But other than that, I took off today. It's a lot better, and I'll be back to work tomorrow.
All right. Very good. SMH Cast says, I want to try raw milk. Do it. So get it from a trusted source, a clean source,
if it's legal where you live.
If it's legal where you live. So like I've had it before. I got it from a friend who has a connection. So it's kind of weird. So it's illegal in Ohio unless the dairy farmer was grandfathered in before it became illegal. And then there's another way they get around it where you actually buy into like stock in the farm or stock in the herd. You buy into it and you pay like a monthly fee to help feed it. And then when it produces milk, you get a certain portion of it. And but it's because it's considered that you own it. And then if you ever want to sell your share of that dairy farm, then so that makes it legal too. So I could also go to this Amish individual and say I want to buy in, and then I could get, there'd be a monthly fee, and I would get so much milk and cream per week or per every 2 weeks or whatever. But I'm the only one that drinks it. I mean, I'm not a big milk drinker anyway. So like I got some from the friend. I tried it out, and guess what? It tasted like milk. I couldn't tell the difference whatsoever.
Yeah, and there's another way around it too. If you're buying it for pet food,
Yeah.
You can buy it when it's pet food, and Steadfast just brought that up on the post.
Now, is it any better for you? Now that's debated. So there are some pros to that argument that it could be, that I think are very believable. How much better over pasteurized milk? That's a debate. To me, it's probably just like, your caged eggs versus your pasture raised eggs. Yeah, the one's going to be a bit better nutritional profile. Is it really worth the change? Hard to say. I will say that there are some people that cannot drink milk from the store and they'll feel like it'll make them sick. They feel like they're lactose intolerant, and they can turn around and drink raw milk just fine. So there is something to be said for that.
Yeah, I don't drink milk, but I do eat cheese and yogurt, so I wouldn't mind having that in the raw form.
DS111 says my wolf diet is beef, butter, bacon, eggs, cheese, chicken, coffee, heavy cream, Topo Chico, water. Sounds good. I could easily do the wolf diet. Very nice.
The wolf diet.
That's what he calls it, the wolf diet. Yeah. SMH Cast says, I thought carnivore was someone who worked at a carnival. Yeah, that's funny.
Hey, I worked at a carnival one summer when I was a kid.
I will say that you know, in case anyone has misunderstood, we highly do not recommend that someone eats the carnival diet.
Yeah,
that would be very bad. We want you to eat
no
the
good food there.
diet. Yeah, don't get the wrong. Oh, the carnival diet. You're talking about cotton candy and you know, elephant ears and sweet lemonade. No. Uncle Charlie says cheese puts weight on me as well as broccoli and cauliflower. Yeah, some people the cheese has that effect, especially if they over consume cheese, which is so easy to do. Cheese is an addictive substance.
That's how I'm maintaining my weight these days. Once I hit my maintenance stage, to keep from losing more weight, I added cheese back in to help me maintain my weight.
Mm-hmm. Holly Springer asks, is anyone else a lean mass hyper responder? I'm experiencing adding a small amount of carbs like green beans every day to try and lower my cholesterol. It's climbing higher and higher. My triglycerides are fine. So how high are they? How lean are you? And then have you tried getting a CAC score or anything like that? It might not. Most lean mass hyper responders on YouTube are not worrying about their cholesterol one bit. Will adding some vegetable matter back into your diet possibly lower your LDL cholesterol? Yes, it might. You know, it might. I won't say it will, but it might. And because there is a correlation between eating, like, you know, saturated fat and LDL production. So it is true, especially if you're lean. And there's a reason for that is that's what's transporting energy around to your body. You know, so instead of eating carbs and insulin helping the carbs get into your cells, you're eating fat, and the LDL is helping transport that fat to the cells in your body to be used for energy, because fat and water don't mix, so fat can't be mixed in the blood. Therefore, it has to get packaged in, you know, triglycerides, which are VLDLs, and LDLs and things like that. So there's a reason behind that, and and for some reason, the leaner you are, the more you're probably because you don't have it stored on your body so much. You know, so it just has to keep producing it to keep up with demand. So. Nick Horowitz and Dave Feldman would be the ones to look up to lean more about LMHRs.
And what would be your reasoning for wanting to lower your cholesterol? What kind of cholesterol are you trying to lower? You know, have you done all the cholesterol exams to see if you need to lower cholesterol? You know,
check particle size, EPB, look at other parameters, you know. Like I said, the CAC. So if you have a CAC score of 0, CAC, you know,
my new doctor didn't even bat an eyelash at my cholesterol levels.
Well, that's great.
And my total cholesterol, got it here. I'm not going to look it up though, but my total cholesterol was like 325. My LDL was 220 something, 223, something like that, you know. But
you won't get Alzheimer's.
He never even mentioned my cholesterol in my blood test, even though the markers were showing, you know, what they consider high. But what this new doctor of mine does is he does the risk ratio assessments on it. And the risk ratio assessments were all below normal. And so as long as they're below normal, he saw no reason to even bring it up to me, because it's not an issue. Now, my old doctor, he'd be calling me up, Jeff, you got to get on statin, you know. And of course, I'd be telling him, no, thank you. I'm doing just fine. This new one, he actually looks at the root cause. He looks at like I said, the risk ratios and adds them up and says, this is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with this. Like you take my triglycerides to HDL ratios, you know, my triglyceride to LDL ratios are like 0.6, under 1. And that's stellar. That's beautiful.
Same here.
You know,
Mine's
so
fantastic.
I'm not the least bit concerned about my cholesterol.
Yep.
I'm at no risk for cardiovascular disease, according to the cardiologists, such as Dr. Ovadia and many of the other carnivore doctors that talk about this. I'm at no risk for this. And even my own cardiologist has never once ever told me to go on a statin. He loves everything I've done with my diet and what's happened with my body. And he has never, ever mentioned my cholesterol.
On a similar subject, last week I shared that I went to the endocrinologist. My primary care physician, had me do some lab work, complete metabolic panel and a lipid panel. And my cholesterol had peaked over 400 total. So that probably put my LDL in the upper 200s, and he had a cow. He's he's type of doctor that's like, oh, LDL, statin. So he wanted to put me on a statin. I refused. He said, well, I'm going to refer you to an endocrinologist. I said, okay, I wouldn't mind talking to one because I want the experience. So that was 2 weeks ago. Real nice lady doctor. And it was completely cool. I said, I'm not taking a statin. I'm not taking a PCSK9 inhibitor. I said, I'll go get a CAC score and see what that is. And, but right now I said, that's I'm just not concerned, and, she's like, okay, and agreed with me that, until we got a CAC score or some other tests, it might, my cholesterol levels may not be an issue, despite there being, technically high according to modern standards, which get lowered all the time. So, so if you're worried about them climbing higher and higher, or you're worried about being a lean mass hyper responder, I'm sure, if I was a gambling man, I'm sure some of that just comes from decades of LDL's bad cholesterol being pumped into your head over the years, and that still sticks with you, So, but don't panic yet, So, there's people that have LDLs in the 900s. They're fine. I had triglycerides at 3,000. I was fine. Not anymore. They didn't stay like that, but here's another question: are you losing weight, or are you lean? So because what people tend to do is if they lose weight rapidly, their LDL goes up because LDL was stored in adipose tissue that gets dissolved and enters your bloodstream. So sometimes you have to be weight stable for like 6 months before you get a lipid panel that's trustworthy. Or are you just lean? If you're lean, then yeah, now switching to a ketogenic diet, it doesn't even have to be a carnivore diet. Just a ketogenic diet can send your cholesterol up really high. That's what happened to Nick Norwitz. He's not carnivore. He's a keto advocate at Harvard with a PhD. And yeah, he was really concerned because his cholesterol skyrocketed, but now he's not anymore. And in fact, he's part of the party that's doing some advanced research when it comes to LDL. And it's kind of changing the definition and changing the tune, how people look at LDL now. So
and like you said, it's natural to have high HDL or high cholesterol if you're living, if all your energy needs are being supplied by fat. It's only natural you're going to have more fat in your system, more fat in your bloodstream.
Speaking of Nick Norwitz, he is a lean mass hyper responder, and I think he ate, instead of green beans, you may want to try eating a package of Oreos every day for 30 days.
Dozen Oreos every day, it'll bring it down.
yeah,
He lowered his LDL doing that.
the dozen Oreos for 30 days actually did better than he took a statin also. Before he did the Oreos, he spent some time doing a statin. Then he took some time off the statin to make sure it was out of his system.
Did a washout period.
And then he did the Oreos, and he got better results eating the Oreos. Now, granted, we don't recommend a diet of Oreos. That's the Carnivore diet, not the Carnivore diet.
Yeah, Oreos battered in, swimming in seed oils, frying.
Yeah. Linda Flanagan says her grandson that was stuck on the runway, he has to stay in Kansas overnight. So I'm sure that's probably the best thing there.
Yep. See, they're changing their story too, because I pointed out to one doctor, I said, well, the American Heart Association says my risk of heart attack to high LDL is 0.3%. Okay. It's 1 degree on the pie chart. And the response was immediately, yeah, but you're going to have a stroke. And you cholesterol won't cause a heart attack, but you're going to have a stroke. So.
Brad Hagan is carnivore and has better mental focus and able to think on my feet. Yeah, me too. So I don't have depression anymore, brain fog. You know, that's definitely improved my mental well-being as well. That's definitely on my list of carnivore victories, non-scale victories. My mental focus is definitely on that list. So very good. And then there's that book, Brain Energy, you know, that where the doctor uses keto and carnivore diets to treat people with mental illnesses, and he documents it. So it's a good book too. Carnivorous dude. Oh, I know. This is a friend of mine from Columbus here in Ohio. I've been carnivore for more than 3 years now. From time to time, I eat whatever I want. Yeah, you know, precisely. So, all right. Very good. About as long as Jeff is I. We'll be coming up on 3 years in May.
May 9th.
Yep. And mine's May 12. So, all right. Very good. And we started doing these live streams. We were doing Zooms before we started doing live streams actually on our 2-year anniversary. That was the theme of our first live stream that we did here in this format. So it'll be a year of doing this in May. Interesting. Target prime rib. I think the one thing that will get some carnivores to give up is how some people can be so dogmatic. Yes.
True.
Yeah. And so we had a dogmatic individual on here earlier. And yeah, that's carnivore dogmatism is a problem. Carnivore cops, carnivore cultists, that's really a big problem. You know, someone who's trying to improve their health and improve their lifestyle, you know, if they've made changes to some degree and they're seeing benefits, the last thing you want to do is discourage them by trying to tell them that they're not good enough. You're not a real carnivore. Come on, man. Are we brothers and sisters or are we enemies? You know, don't say anything discouraging to one another. Congratulate them on the progress they make. It can be worth suggesting, especially if they're still having some problems. Have you given some thought to maybe trying an elimination diet for 30 days of just meat? There's no harm in saying that, you know, but you don't want to be like, you know, well, you're not a real carnivore. You know, that's not right. So don't do that.
When I first came into this lifestyle and started getting on the talk forums, you know, and reading them and commenting on them, I decided back then that I wanted to help people. I didn't want to run nobody down. I wanted to help people. I wanted people to experience what I've experienced. And so I made a determination that I wanted to try to lift people up, not beat them down. Because beating them down, you're not going to help anybody doing that.
Exactly.
You know, you need to lift people up, encourage them.
Yep. You know it. And so, yep. In a similar vein. Okay. You know, so not all of us are probably associated with the same denomination. Okay. Now, would it be encouraging or discouraging to say, well, that particular doctrine you believe is wrong and I'm right. You're wrong. I'm right.
Yeah.
Or is it better to talk about the things that you have in common and congratulate them for that? So hey, you read your Bible every day, good. You pray every day, good. Keep it up.
Yep.
So that's why would I be like, you're not doing it right? Oh, you're not
Yeah, let's encourage each
you're
other.
not a real Christian. Wow, no. It's just, why discourage people? Why needlessly offend people? We're supposed to be loving, we're supposed to be encouraging, and that's in a scriptural context. But I think all those principles apply in my dealings with everyday people, carnivores, ketovores, animal-based individuals, even my vegan friends. There's no reason ever to not be loving and not be encouraging. So we can give some counsel, we can give some tips, but we never want to be, a jerk.
No.
No. I gave up coffee last May, says Freethinker. Was a lifelong black coffee drinker. It was surprisingly easy to stop. I was surprised, frankly.
Good for
I
you.
did mine cold turkey. I wouldn't say it was surprisingly easy. I jonesed for it for a few days, and I had a massive headache, but I got through it. So, Carnivorous Dude says, I call my diet the Ed diet. That's his name, is Ed. Since it works best for me. I eat mostly carnivore, but when I decide to eat something else, I just do it, but not with any frequency. That sums up me to a T. Yeah. Yeah, the Ed diet. What's your diet? It's the Ed diet. Paul's on the Paul diet. Kelly's on the Kelly diet. David's on the David diet. Jeff's on the Jeff diet. I like that. Yep, very good. So,
yeah, it's because whatever may work for me may not work for you. And that's one thing that I always encourage people. Don't follow me. You do what works for you. And like, I don't have a problem having seasoning, fruit, vegetables, time to time, in season or fermented. I don't have that issue. I do better when I eat beef or red meat because, it's the best. Like tonight, before I came on, I had a chuck roast, and it was a delicious one that's so tender. One had a chuck eye, but I do better on that. But I have, I season my ground beef. I eat dairy. I don't drink milk, but I have heavy whipping cream in my coffee. I don't drink much coffee, but it works for me. I don't have no issues with it. So, but it may not work for Jeff. It may have maybe something different. His, because we all have the the same journey, but our stories are different. Why we're here.
yeah, very nice. So, yeah, all right, very good.
And we may change over time too. What worked 2 years ago might not work 2 years from now.
Oh, no, that's a good point. I mean, I remember when I was 20, I could slug down beer and eat ramen noodles, and I was healthy as could be. If I tried to do that now, I'd be in my grave next week.
Well, I remember
You're
those
right.
days.
The human body even changes over time, so that's true. So it's much more difficult to tip the apple cart, as they say, when I was a teenager than it is now. So, Dr. Barry had a good video on the food pyramid, the new food pyramid. If you look at that as from top to bottom, left to right, it's pretty good. Fits right within his proper human diet philosophy, which I subscribe to. Bulk of your diet should be meat and dairy. And then if you want to supplement it with the occasional vegetable or fruit, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. Carnivore, primarily meat, carnivore centric, animal based, meat centric, ketovore, so all, we're definitely, meat needs to be the centerpiece of your plate. And then if you want to put a few things beside it, that's entirely up to you, depending what it is. Like, I still wouldn't do Skittles or Oreos or anything like that. Fresh food.
Carnivore diet or the carnival diet.
The carnival diet. Yeah, the carnival diet. Even on that new food pyramid, what does it say in big bold letters at the top? Eat real food. That's the message, and I couldn't agree with that message more.
Hey, Bob.
Yes.
Well, did you finish your thought?
Yes, I did. I was just
Okay.
about to highlight
All right.
the next comment.
Okay. Well, you can do that, but before we end, I wanted to get back to the high histamine stuff.
Okay, sure.
You
Yeah,
want me to
did
do
you?
that now?
Well, okay. Is there something specific you wanted to talk about? I kind of went over my highlights as to, if you have this problem, what you can try and do to mitigate it,
Yeah.
Now, when you were on earlier and your volume was super low,
Right.
it sounded like, and I was straining to listen to you, it sounded like you were saying that this lion diet for January has proven to be very beneficial for you, that you
Yeah.
used to have some issues before, but this month you have eliminated eggs and dairy, and the issues you previously experienced seem to have resolved at the moment.
Well, yeah, I can quickly go over that. So I'm 692 days carnivore. And I did lion 2 90-day stints. And lion to me is beef, water, and electrolytes.
Mhm.
And so, 26 days on lion again. And I had added back since my last lion diet, coffee. Well, this is what I was eating and drinking: coffee, beef, ham, hot dogs, heavy cream, butter, eggs, yogurt, hard cheese, Parmesan cheese, canned sardines. And so I had to look up what all is high histamine. Well, coffee is apparently a histamine trigger, but it's not high histamine. So if if you have some histamine intolerance, and I think I do, beef, as long as it's fresh, doesn't have hardly any histamine. Ham is high. These are the high ones: ham, hot dogs. Um, Butter is low histamine. So eggs, they've got to be super fresh or they have histamine. Yogurt is high histamine. Hard cheese, high histamine. Parmesan cheese, very high histamine. Canned sardines, any canned fish, any canned meat, high histamine. And so if I add something back, it's going to be butter. So, but I'm gonna stay off the butter as long as I'm online. I may at some point add the butter back. And the coffee, I don't know. I've been drinking it since I was 12 years old, but I eliminated it for 90 days, 2 90-day stretches over the past 692 days and 26 days this time. So, like other people have said, I can give that up. But if that helps anybody, like what's high histamine, this is what I was eating, and it's all carnivore stuff. But so that's it.
Okay, yeah. No, I was writing down some of those food items as you rattled them off, like ham, hot dogs, yogurt, Parmesan, and sardines. I especially took note of. I know those are high histamines. And then you
Right.
turned around and confirmed that. You said you did the research and that's what came up as high histamine foods. And when you having eliminated those foods, you feel better? You notice a difference?
Yeah. So my nose has run really most of my life, just clear. I just always have a white hanky in my back pocket, and so over the past 26 days, that has lessened. I mean, it'll still run. When I was out for 4 hours shoveling snow, it was running like a faucet.
The cold had to do with that too.
Yeah. And I've had cold fingers and toes all my life. And so it seems to me I couldn't have done this out in the teens this afternoon for 4 hours before. So I don't know what's going on, but I think my circulation is better also. So I don't know how that if it relates to histamine, but just eating the beef, my my hands are warm, and usually they would be cold. So I don't know. That's a strange one. I mean, I've had a lot of healing on carnivore, but I just what I want to do is I want to raise chickens for their eggs, and so I can do like Jeff, and I won't have any histamine in my eggs that way, because the eggs that you get at the store, they're aged. They've been at any, if there's any length of time from what I've read, the eggs will have histamine. So, and also I want to buy my first side of beef and get it, processed and frozen, and that way I'll know that the beef that I'm eating also doesn't have histamine. So,
Well, you just have to make sure it hasn't been aged.
right. Yeah.
Because most meat, most cattle, when they're butchered, they are hung for 7 to 14 days, to start an aging process on them. And I'll add a food to your list, which was a very good list, is leftover foods.
Okay, that makes sense.
Leftovers in your refrigerator is part of the aging process. So that can also cause a histamine response in you.
That's good to know. That makes
So
sense.
like I will cook up, a lot of times I'll cook up enough meat to pretty much last me all week long. So I'm inviting a histamine response, but I haven't had an issue with it. The only histamine response I ever get is I'll get a little bit of a clear runny nose. That's the worst of it. And if that's the worst I get, it doesn't bother me too much. I carry a handkerchief all the time.
Yeah, I understand. Hey, so
the
that's 7 to 14 days. What's the least amount of time they can do that? I mean, can they butcher the cow and process it right there?
Yeah, they can.
Okay.
They can. They generally don't. A lot of times the hanging it is also for the animal to for the meat to become hard, so that they can butcher it easier. It's just like if you, for instance, you go buy, let's say, a whole rib roast, from the store, and cut your own steaks. It's a lot easier to cut it if that's been refrigerated and good and solid, before you try to cut it, because otherwise it's just soft and mushy and wants to go every place. Like when I make my own bacon, I won't slice it the same day I smoke it. I'll do it the next day, because it's going to go in the refrigerator where I want it to become solidified, so it'll slice easier. So that's one of the reasons why they hang them. But they also they hang them because they do want to age them to an extent, because it does enhance the flavor and the tenderness of the meat. You can take a beefsteak from the store, and you can salt it and put it in your refrigerator for 30 days and age it. You can go to the butcher shop, and some butcher shops you can buy aged meat, and I'm telling you, it's delicious. It's really good. If it doesn't cause a histamine response, then the aged meat just tastes better. And to be honest, the aging process is actually part of the it's part of the deterioration of the animal. The decomposition is what it is. I mean, it sounds kind of gross, but that's exactly what it is. It's it starts the decomposition of the animal, and it's breaking down the muscle tissue.
And that's for flavor and tenderness. That's why they do that.
Yes.
So, but you can, if you talk to your local farmer, you can try and you could probably get
exactly if you're going to go
same
buy
day or the next day.
If you're going to go buy a side, talk to them. Hey, next one you butcher, I want it fresh, as fresh as you can get it.
So are the histamines in eggs due to the washing of the eggs, or if you don't wash them, do you get less histamine?
It's just time. Apparently, just if your hen lays eggs and you pull them and crack them and fry them, there's no histamine. But if you buy them from Costco, they've been, it's taken a while for them to get to Costco at that time somehow. apparently adds histamine.
I wonder if
Now,
that could be
eggs-
considered an aging
They've also
process.
been raw.
Yeah, there's a twofold situation with eggs.
on.
So a freshly laid egg is going to be low histamine, low bacterial count, and then the older the egg gets, the higher the histamine gets. So it still comes down to freshness. Has nothing to do with washing or anything like that.
Now,
Now,
yeah, when you
there's a-
remove
there's a
Unwashed eggs
secondary-
last longer.
there's a secondary aspect to eggs too, and that is egg whites can trigger your body to make histamines if you have a sensitivity towards that. So it might not be the histamine in the actual egg, but the proteins and stuff in the egg whites could cause your own body to produce histamine. Remember,
I've
your
heard-
body produces histamine.
Yeah, and I
I've heard
tried that
people-
too, splitting it, separating the yolk from the egg. So I had more yolks, but I did have, I mean, from the white, I had more yolks than whites usually for the past year and a half. But that's true that the whites do trigger histamine response. in
Kind of
people.
like coffee. It can trigger that response, although the coffee itself isn't necessarily rich in histamine in the package. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
similar thing there. All right. So we're 10:21. We're scheduled at 10:30. Well, but we got 25 starred comments to get through. So I'm willing to go as late as 11. So I'm going to start barreling through the remainder here. If we're done with the histamine topic for now, is there anything else we
I'm
want to
done.
add?
I want to real quick because I remember before I hopped on, you were talking about the alpha gal.
Right.
I have a sister in Christ, a good friend of mine. She's a nurse practitioner in my area, and of course, not only that, she encourages her patients that deal with overweight, diabetes, and stuff. She suggests to my channel, and I have her help on those channels. But I want to get back with the alpha gal with this Lone Star tick, which a lot of people, she said, just like every one of us agree, it's a temporary deal. When you eat like hoof, meat like pork and red meat, that you would get that reaction. But she said it is temporary, and a lot of people, the reason why they don't want to go back eating red meat because they're scared to try it, even though it'd be over with. It's a temporary thing to go in and out of their body, but they said I can't do it, I'm allergic, because they're scared of going back.
Yeah.
Is it true that it can take up to a year for them to get over that?
Yes, it could be up to a year, maybe a little bit longer, but yeah, it could. But I've been bitten by that Lone Star tick for ever since I remember the late 90s. It's been here in Missouri since the 90s, and I've been bitten by it and never affected me.
I think
Brother,
the tick has to have
I'll live in
a
the
virus
Lone
in it.
Yeah, I live in the Lone Star State, and I can't tell you how many hundreds of ticks I've been bit by in my lifetime. And thank good Lord I've never got that, because that would be devastating to me if I couldn't eat meat. It really would. It'd be terrible. But I can understand being scared to try something that makes you violently ill. I mean, back when I was a truck driver, I was up in Maine, and I ate a bad clam up there. And let me tell you what, it was years before I could ever eat another clam, because that was one horrible night.
Yeah. So complete resolution is they usually say 2 to 5 years, depending on not getting any further tick bites. And then some people can try and reduce that to maybe a year if they're willing to try little bits of beef at a time, slowly try and get their body to acclimate to it again. So, yeah, but no, fortunately, I haven't been bit by that tick yet. I certainly don't want to be. All right. Lioness Helix says, for me, no eggs of any kind, no pork of any cut. Not anymore. Stay away from the chicken loyally and forever. Red meat, I like a lot of it raw for a sweet snack. Gotta have steak. All right.
You do
very
you,
good.
darling.
Yep.
You bet.
Yeah, I still eat the rainbow of meats. I eat steelhead trout. I'll eat salmon. I'll eat chicken and turkey, and I'll eat scallops and shrimp. But I am mostly eating beef. Beef is definitely my staple product. DS111 says I eat chicken at most every 10 days. Yeah, I don't even eat it that much. So I'm not a big fan of chicken, but I get it once in a while.
Well, for this cold weather, my wife wanted me to fix a soup or a stew or something, and normally I would have done chili, but I can't eat chili anymore. And she wanted me to fix something that I could eat, so I made a chicken chowder.
Mm-hmm. So every once in a while, I'll still go out for wings. So like once every 3 months, one of my family will get together. They used to host this open mic night. Now they don't do it anymore, but they'll still attend one once every like 3 months. So we'll go down to this place where they're doing open mic, and I'll get some wings, and I know they're deep fried in the nasty stuff, and I'll have some Cajun sauce or some mango habanero, so I know that's got so the mango habanero obviously is going to have some sort of sugar in it. But again, that's just once every 3 months, 4 times a year at best, so every once in a while.
Seasonally.
Yeah, it's my seasonal chicken wing. every 3 months, the little tiny chickens come around seasonally. On the carnivore diet, you can't have enough floss, though. That's for sure. So honestly, I don't floss unless I get something stuck in my teeth. I've never been a flosser. I brush, but
I have to carry it everywhere with me because it never fails. Just between two of my teeth, I always get meat stuck, and I always got to carry the floss with me.
Yep. My last crown I had installed, however they put it in, there's a gap there now that I'm always getting stuck, and I can't get it out with a toothpick, and I have to floss it. So I'm like you. I got a can of floss sitting next to my easy chair.
My dad always has toothpicks on him for that reason, but I've been pretty good. I don't get stuff stuck in between my teeth often. Once in a while.
Every time I go to the dentist, they always say, "Well, you got to make sure you floss." I said, "I floss at every meal because I have to."
Mm-hmm. Lamb says, if you have histamine issues, try and get a hold of fresh or fresh frozen meat. It's the aging for weeks that people are sensitive to. Yeah, that's probably the best tip that you can try. Carnivore Jerry says, Carnivore Teacher talked about plastics tonight too. Yeah, so he does. He has a live 1 hour before mine. He goes live 7 to 8, and then I come on at 8. And he also had a talking head video about plastics that he released probably sometime earlier today. It was a pretty good one. Cod liver is a great source of omega-3 fatty acids. I do cod liver oil. That was from Kelly there. All right. So you like the cod livers?
Yeah, I never had cod liver. I always went to the natural grocery store. Ever since when I was keto back in the day when I started, I discovered that through Dr. Eric Berg, where he did, cod liver oil. So I get my supplements through the natural grocers or, Amazon through the most natural way. I don't get the artificial junk. And so I get cod liver oil in the supplements. So that's what I take.
All right.
And that's just a good source of omega-3s.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I've just never had it. I heard that Todd Bachnis, Carnivore Cure, he talked about cod livers being one of his favorite snacks too. So Linus Helix, yes, you're welcome. Like I said, we get to every question. It might be late. Like this one that I'm about to click on, you posted at 9:03. Here we are at 10:28. Finally bringing it up on the screen. Jeff, hello. Nice to meet you on here. Are you talking about heart murmurs or heart flutters different?
I don't know how to describe them. I used to have, years ago, I was diagnosed with PVCs, preventricular contractions. And so when I'm referring to a heart flutter, that's what I'm talking about is a PVC. And PVCs, from my understanding, what I was told, they're natural. A lot of people have them. They're not a sign of heart disease. Okay. Then I developed atrial fibrillation, and I had paroxysmal atrial fibrillation, and that's the type of fibrillation that you are not in AFib all the time. You know, some people are in AFib constantly, to the point they even have to have a pacemaker. I was fortunate where mine is I would just have attacks, atrial fibrillation attacks, where my upper atrium would quit working. And so there was no blood flowing. There's very little blood flowing. I couldn't get up without passing out. If I tried to walk, I'm on the floor. And my wife has to get me to the ER, and then I'm going to spend a day or two in ICU while they get my heart back in rhythm. And it's a pretty scary thing. It's a rough experience. And I've been in the hospital 4 times for it. And I've had a cardiac ablation done, which did not fix it, didn't do a thing for it. And it was shortly after that I started into carnivore, that I was introduced to carnivore, and carnivore fixed it. So I used to wear a monitor on my wrist that told me when I was in AFib, and there were times when those flutters that I would get wouldn't be PVCs. They would be actual minor AFib attacks. It's not a murmur. From my understanding, it's never been described as a murmur, what I'm having. I call it a flutter, but it's either a mild PVC, it's either a PVC incident, or in the past, it would have been a atrial fibrillation, a small atrial fibrillation attack. But yeah, a murmur is not the same as a heart flutter. Heart flutter is just literally, it feels like a flutter. It feels like a butterfly flapping its wings inside your heart, inside your chest. That's why it's called a flutter.
All right, thank you, Jeff.
And mine are so rare now, they're almost non-existent. So even my PVCs aren't hitting me like they used to. There you go.
My heart still flutters at the sight of a beautiful woman. And his username is My Willie.
Oh, we ain't going there.
Lioness Helix, you can have your rotisserie chicken be an emotional support animal these days. That's funny. Papa Carnivore says, I ate 1 mandarin orange, no issues. Yeah, I don't, fruit is pretty, not all fruit. Obviously, there's fruits that are full of plant toxins, but most fruits, especially the ones that humans eat regularly, they withdraw their toxins from the fruit when it becomes ripe. And again, that philosophy, you've heard Paul Saladino talk about, like the plant doesn't want you to eat it. Therefore, stay away from its leaves, stems, seeds, and unripe fruit. But it actually wants you to eat its fruit because that's how it propagates. So, by design.
And I think it was just yesterday or day before when Tony Hampton was talking about fruits. And he said, if you're going to eat them, eat the fruits that are not sugar bombs. Certain fruits like mangoes, watermelon, grapes are real high in sugar. And he says citrus fruits and berries have less sugar. So if you're going to eat a fruit, eat the ones with the lesser sugar in them.
Yeah, no, and if you're on a keto diet, that's usually, meat, low carb veg with a few fruits, with a few berries and a few nuts, So yeah, because the berries are low sugar, low on the glycemic index, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Pemmican sounds wonderful for my carnivore diet. That's what a carnivore bar is. So yeah, that is good indeed.
And you can make your own.
Yeah.
It's really easy to make.
There's Dave's prices, David B's prices. So yeah. So at the regular store, it's kind of weird. At the regular store, it'd be $5.99, but often on sale for like $2 or $3.99. And then, but at Sam's Club, you're looking at $4 something for the big 5-pound sausage rolls of ground beef. And then the individually packed grass-fed ones, like I said, they're averaging about $6.09 or $6.18 now for me locally. Have beef prices gone up? Yes. Everything's about $1 more per pound than it was, say, a year ago. For me. eggs are back down to normal price. They were bumped up slightly for a while, but they're back down to normal. And they were never crazy. Like some people said that they were having to pay $11 a dozen. I never saw anything close to that. I don't know where that was coming from.
I sure wish everybody could raise their own.
Yeah. Oh, Hillbilly. He's from the Carnivore Talk forum. Them worms and the cherries make them carnivore. They were talking about my cherry tree that you got the worms in them. So, I don't know. I don't know if they're harmless or not, but they sure gross me out. I'm not interested in eating any worms. Linus Helix says, I was addicted to diet pop. I got rid of it during the Lion diet. It was rough though. I was just on the 14th of January. Well, good job. I tell you what, I was a Diet Coke addict all my life. Like the first time I lost weight, I was a fat little kid. And in 8th grade, I switched to Diet Coke, lost a bunch of weight. And I was a Diet Coke addict ever since. And even when I started Carnivore Diet in 2023, I still sucking down Diet Cokes. And then I eventually stopped because of my phosphorus got too high because of my kidney condition. And so I switched to Diet Mountain Dew. Then I found myself drinking more Diet Mountain Dew than I did drink Diet Coke. You know, it was delicious. And then that's when I noticed my blood pressure going up, probably because I had all this liquid in me. And so I finally gave up Diet Mountain Dew in November. I have not had soda since. What I drink now, and I'm not sponsored by this, but I plug it a lot. Saratoga sparkling water. I've become addicted to this. That and the brand called Polar. It's like a LaCroix or a bubbly, but Polar. I like the Polar and I like the Saratoga because they are aggressively bubbly. And
that's why I like Topo Chico.
So Topo Chico is a good. Topo Chico is right up there with Saratoga. It's aggressively fizzy, and I don't like San Pellegrino. Everybody loves San Pellegrino, but I just don't like it. I'll drink plain water before I drink a San Pellegrino.
I used to drink it a lot, and then the Aldi has a one that's similar to San Pellegrino, but I had some left over in the fridge Friday night, and I'm like, ugh, I can't stand this. This is flat compared to the Topo Chico.
Yeah. I got to have those aggressive bubbles. And DS111 says, have you tried Topo Chico mineral water? I drink one at dinner time. It's very strong. Yeah. Topo Chico and Saratoga both are winning carbonated waters in my book.
And you can get Topo Chico at Walmart for, I know in my area, $13.97 for a 12-pack in glass bottles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's excellent. All right. Emily Penton just had her first bite of beef since being diagnosed with alpha-gal and after having acupuncture. She just shared the last few days. Very powerful. Cool. Is that on YouTube? I'm going to guess so. I'm going to look it up real quick. Let me just type in Emily Penton. And that would be an interesting testimony. Emily Penton.
Who is she?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so there's a channel called Emily Penton Inner Clarity Carnivore, Inner Clarity System. Yeah, 4 days ago. First bites of beef after alpha-gal treatment. So a 3-minute and 55-second, or 4-minute and 7-second video. Mouse was over it and it was ticking down. Yeah. You know what I can do? I can share that. Share, copy, and we'll share that one right here in the comment section. So yeah, if you want to click it and watch that video, that's the link to the Emily Penton video. I'm going to watch it later myself. So we got let's see here. 9 comments to go so far. Then we're going to wrap this up. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you, according to Genesis 9:3. Yes. Yes. So we know we have a scriptural authorization to eat meat. All right. And actually, I just removed the comment. Going back to that comment too. I have this video on Jesus was not a vegan, And I get all kinds of hateful comments on that video week after week after week from militant vegans. Because
It was a good video, by the way.
There's these movements of videos, you know, and all it was a commentary on a Pierce Morgan interviewing the guys that wrote it, and I have downloaded and watched the actual documentary, and so one of these days I'm going to create a talking head video and poke holes through it too, because these guys don't know a whole lot, but like, you know, so the New Testament is a continuation of the Old Testament. Jesus is the son of the God of the Old Testament, and he grew up in Jewish society. And you know what Jewish society did for thousands of years, starting before the law started. It even goes back to Noah. It goes back to Abel. Animal sacrifice was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like, you know, at the dedication of the temple by Solomon, like, you know, you look at the amount of animals they brought to sacrifice that day. It was crazy and insane. I mean, it's hard to fathom because we don't live in that culture today, you know, and but when you read about it, you know, the smoke coming up from the altar at the temple, it never ceased.
River blood coming out from Yom Kippur.
It burned 24/7, and there was always people bringing sacrifices to it. So you know, when someone's like, you know, what do you think God feels about those animals? Well, I mean,
he put them here for us and gave us dominion over them.
You know, you had to. That's how you made atonement for your sins back then, was by spilling blood. And of course now,
I mean,
we don't have to, because Jesus spilled his blood once for all time, and it has a much great infinite value compared to the blood of animals and goats.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, if you go clear back to when Adam and Eve sinned at the garden, I'm sure, you know, because a lot of people said, well, we were originally vegans, we ate a lot of fruit. Well, I'm sure that we did at the humans at the very beginning. We don't really know how long, because we don't know from the very beginning to when they sinned, but God had slaughtered and sacrificed animals to make clothing for Adam and Eve to be covered for they were kicked out of the garden.
It does say that he made clothing of skins for them.
Yep.
Yeah, it does say that. So yeah, no, that topic on you know, the original diet and eating meat, that's another topic for a video that I have planned to come out someday. So
everything I've made is good for you.
Yep. So yeah, that's definitely an interesting one, you know. And also, you know, from a spiritual standpoint, Adam and Eve were perfect. You know, created perfect, with no chance of dying at all had they remained obedient. You know, so the circumstances were different, and then afterwards, you know, it seems like, you know, there was then you know, this benefit to eating meat to keep them sustained, because they weren't being sustained by perfection anymore. They lost that. So all right, well, that's all the it's all the religious I'm going to get at the moment. Frank Calabrese says, watch Dr. Chafee give ethical justification in a 90-minute debate on YouTuber's site named Tash Peterson. Okay, that's another interesting one. Tash Peterson. Reem 24017. I have this sun allergy where my skin gets wildly red and itchy with even just 5 minutes of sun exposure. I developed this at 21. I am 27 now. What caused this? I've been doing carnivore keto for the last 2 years trying to fix it. Honestly, I'm going to have to research that one.
Okay, I had a sun allergy, so I can relate. I had to constantly wear sunblock. If I was going in town on my motorcycle, just, you know, and I lived at that time 7 miles outside of town. If I was going in town to go get something and come back, I had to put sunblock on my nose and on my ears, because I would burn, and I would develop a rash that would last for weeks, you know, and it'd just be these bumps on my skin that were just full of liquid. And it wasn't a blister like a 2nd degree burn. It was deeper than that. It wasn't superficial. It was real. It was subcutaneous. And I dealt with that most of my life. Even to the point where I had extremely sensitive eyes to the sun. When I was in the service, I actually had to have a prescription to wear sunglasses in formation because I didn't wear glasses, but I had to get a prescription to wear sunglasses in formation. Otherwise, they wouldn't allow me to wear sunglasses. And I couldn't see without the sunglasses. I couldn't drive without them because daylight hurt my eyes so bad. I would squint so hard that I couldn't hardly see. And even on cloudy days, I had to wear sunglasses. So I had a severe reaction to sunlight. People even said that I had to be a vampire because of it, because I couldn't be out in the sunlight. And what caused it, I don't know. Everybody has different physiology. I would say, I just had a super sensitivity to the sun. And so I would break out in the rashes. I'd burn and peel like you ain't never seen. But the thing is, after a year on carnivore, and I know you've been 2 years trying to fix it, and maybe it's because you're carnivore/keto. I went pure carnivore, and I was pure carnivore for 2 years. But after about a year of pure carnivore, I noticed one time I was walking between the house and the barn, and 2 things I always put on when I left the house. First, my hat. Second, my sunglasses. I don't go outside without a hat, and I didn't go outside without sunglasses, even on cloudy days. And I noticed one day I'm walking between the house and the barn, and I had my hat on, and I'd forgot to put my sunglasses on, and I could see. And I was just absolutely amazed. I'm looking around. I haven't worn sunglasses since that day, except when I ride my motorcycle, and the only reason I wear them then is because bugs hurt when they hit me in the eyes. So it's the only time I wear my sunglasses. But carnivore fixed my sun allergy. I will still burn, but I can stay out in the sun so much longer without burning. And my gosh, I was here last year. I was outside all day long with my shirt off and wearing shorts because I was tearing down saddles, breaking them down, doing a deep clean on them, and re-oiling all my saddles. And it took me 2 days to do. And I got a sunburn, but it barely hurt, and it didn't last long, and it turned right into a tan. Never broke out, not a single rash. And that was all day in the sun. That was a lot of hours out in the sun. And trust me, I'm a white boy. I am pure white. My heritage is 75% German and 25% Scandinavian. And people can't believe how white my skin is. And yet now I'm darkening up. I'm not as white as I used to be. And there's something in the diet that has changed me. I will tan now, whereas before I burnt all the time. I was always red. My daughter even noticed it. She says, Dad, your arms look, you look like a Mexican. Your arms are so dark, because I ride a motorcycle wearing a t-shirt and whatnot. She's never seen them that brown before, So what causes it? It's your physiology. I don't know what causes it. Everybody's different. My wife doesn't burn. I do. I'm sorry that carnivore hasn't cured you of it like it did me, but it could be. Look at your diet. Since you're carnivore/keto, maybe there's something in the keto part of it that is not allowing your body to heal, because I would say it's a histamine response to the sun. And you may be having a histamine response, and maybe you need to cut something out of your diet and go more pure into carnivore.
And it could be the aged beef too.
Pardon?
It could be the aged beef too.
It could be. I would start by looking at what you're eating, eliminate everything down to just meat, salt, and water. If that doesn't do it, then start eliminating the meats till you get down to just ruminant meats, and do a little bit at a time.
As fresh as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I plugged this into AI, and here's the response I got. I would definitely do all the things that Jeff just suggested. So because people, the more pure people eat, the better results they have when they're trying to deal with chronic issues. It says the most likely cause is polymorphous light eruption. It's sometimes called a sun allergy. It's not a true allergy, but the skin reacts to ultraviolet light often after the first intense sun exposure of the season, like spring or early summer. You get those red bumps, patches, raised areas, and they can appear for hours to several days after being exposed to the sun. So, and
Mine would last for weeks.
Yeah, it says it's more common in women and people in northern climates with less year-round sun. Other possible causes: there's solar urticaria, which is rare, causes hives within minutes of sun exposure, fading quickly once out of the sun. So I don't know how long you'll stick around. That wouldn't describe Jeff's, because his says his lasted for weeks.
Yeah.
Photoallergic or phototoxic reactions triggered by medications. So do you take any medications? It could be that the sun reacts with medication. So that's a fair question. Are you on any medications?
One of my mother-in-law's medications would cause her to have a reaction. I don't remember what it was. I think it was a blood pressure medication, but I'm not sure now what it was. But yeah, she had one that she couldn't get out in the sun because of it.
Yeah. And so what can you do? So immediate relief is cold compresses, calamine lotion, hydrocortisone cream, oral antihistamines for itching. Prevention says use a broad spectrum sunscreen like SPF 50 or more. Wear protective clothing, hats, and seek shade, especially between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. And gradually increase sun exposure to harden the skin over time. So those are some ideas there. So it's kind of like train yourself to get used to it in a way,
And see, that's another thing. Since becoming a carnivore, I haven't touched sunscreen since.
Same here.
And now I still have to put it on my head. This will burn no matter what. But the rest of me doesn't burn like it used to at all. My arms, I don't have to worry about my arms or legs or anything. So
yeah, my skin doesn't burn either. Yeah. And I don't, Jeff, just like you, I stopped wearing sunglasses, and with that, it was not a cloud in the sky when I was shoveling for 4 hours. I mean, it was just white everywhere. It was bright, bright, bright. No sunglasses, and my eyes were just fine.
It's amazing.
I will wear my glasses, which these would be the last transition glasses I'll ever buy. But when I get my eyes checked, I'm kind of curious to where my eyes is, because I noticed there is a slight improvement. The only time I wear glasses is if I'm looking at my phone or these computer screens, because it caused my eyes to get a little blurry because of the blue light. But like at work, like I'll drive with my glasses on. But as soon as I get to work, or if I'm doing something outside, I won't wear them. I won't even wear sunglasses in the middle of the summer, because I want that I used to have that sensitivity to go out with the sun, but now I don't have that problem. And as soon as I get to work, the first thing comes off of my head was these glasses, and I'll go out there without them. And I don't have no problem. It used to be like, hey, it's kind of blurry here and I have to put them on, but now I can walk outside and I have no issues.
Yeah, there's so many of these little miracles that they're inexplicable, but we heal up from them. And
so, Reem, we certainly hope that you find some resolution to this. And that carnivore and keto will help. But we'd be dishonest if we would guarantee you that it would help. It may not be carnivore or keto or diet related one bit. So, but definitely keep persisting at it, because I still think it's the best thing you can do for your body health wise. And then we'll see where it goes from there. So sorry you have to put up with that. I imagine that'd be frustrating. Yeah. All right, Lioness Helix says, used to for 2 years I couldn't eat but 4 bites of everything I made. For 2 years I couldn't eat but 4 bites of everything I made, no matter what it was, except for cream and bacon. I could eat that, rarely needing help tracking macros. Okay, so for macros, so it's grams of fat and grams of protein. Look at your nutrition labels, write it down in a journal, or use an app like Carb Manager. So Carb Manager on your Google Play Store or probably your Apple App Store is very useful in tracking your macros. Most people aim for a 70 to 30 ratio of that's calories, by the way, 70% from fat, 30% from protein. And that is also the equivalent of a 1-to-1 gram for gram. Okay, so for every gram of protein you eat, you also eat a gram of fat. That'll give you 70% of your calories from fat and 30% of your calories from protein. Some people prefer to do what's called an 80-20. 80% from fat, 20% from protein. And the way you do that is you eat 2-to-1 when it comes to weight. So 2 grams of fat for every 1 gram of protein. Usually that's going to require that you add fat in the form of butter or tallow. And then if you are trying to lose weight, if you can get your protein less than 9% of what you eat, then you will trigger FGS21 in your body and you will lose weight rapidly by eating 91% fat, 9% protein. That's very difficult to do. You'll probably be living off of carnivore ice cream and butter bites to try and get that. But that's how the reason I say that is because that's exactly how the sugar diet works for those who have done the sugar diet, where all they eat is sugar all day long, and then they're losing weight rapidly somehow. That's because they're getting less than 9% protein in their diet, and that's triggering this hormone called FGS21, and that's why they lose weight. Their metabolism goes into overdrive. You can do the same thing, much healthier, by eating fat instead of sugar. So,
thank you.
I did
And
that.
I never
for
really
3
understood all
days.
that, but thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people do a fat fast.
A fat
Yeah,
fast.
I
Yeah.
did
So you're
that.
just trying
I
to
did
eat
that
nothing but
back in
fat.
the summer, and I lost. I wanted to try to see if I can shift my weight down some more just to change up. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give this a try. And, because I ate egg yolks, I ate butter, I ate, the pork rinds because it's majority fat or the crackling part. And I think I got from 270 to maybe 265. But when I put the protein, started eating the protein back or the meat, it came right back. So,
Yeah, so you can do that. Sean Baker, he did, an all fat diet for like 3 days over the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and dropped like 8 pounds. So yeah, that's how the sugar diet works. It does, but it's not healthy for you. You're getting no nutrition. You're probably rotting your teeth. Yeah, you're not helping your addictions any for sure. But that's why it works. It's because of this lack of protein is really the trick there. Lamb says, would wild animals in nature worry about the fat to protein ratio when picking their prey? No, they wouldn't. So that's true. If you're just eating a carnivore diet, just eat the meat and the associated fat and don't worry about it.
Well, considering the fact that they can't rationalize, no, they wouldn't worry about it. But here's what they do. The first thing they eat when they take down an animal, and I got pictures to prove it. I can show you what they've done to my lambs. Stupid coyotes. The first thing they do is they go for the innards. They go for the liver. They go for the intestines. They go for the kidneys. They go for the suet, the fat around the kidneys. They go for all the high fat, high nutrition organs before they ever touch the muscle fiber. And I could even show you an example just out here, just up the road from my place. There's two dead deer on the side of the road. We hit a lot of deer here in Texas, and nothing has touched those deer one's been out there for a week, another one's been out there for 2 weeks. Nothing has touched those in that time, not even the buzzards, because they're too close to traffic. And this afternoon, I went into town to the feed store to pick up some hay for my goats, and because we got a sheet of ice on the ground, so they're having a hard time getting anything to eat. So I went and picked up some coastal hay for them, and on the way back, I noticed both of them deer had been hit by the coyotes. They'd been hit like in the last 2 days, last night or the night before last, they were hit, and both of them right in the gut. Nothing to touch the meat, but everything was gone from the inside. And when I lose an animal to the coyotes, that's all that's left. The legs will be there, the shoulders will be there, the head and the neck will be there, but everything on the inside is gone. So no, they don't worry about it because they already know where that fat is at, and they go straight for it. That's the first thing they eat.
Right. and so, yeah, so you can just hunt an animal, eat it. Don't worry about it. That's a carnivore diet, and you're going to benefit. The only reason you want to track your macros if you're trying to tweak something like, that trying to trigger that FGS 21 or something like that. So, and some people say that they thrive better on an 80-20 versus a 70-30. Most people's diets, if they don't think about it, are probably like 60-40, honestly. I don't think it really matters. I do agree with you. If you just eat meat and be happy.
730 worked fine for me. I just make sure every bite of protein I take, there's some fat in there, every single one. Yeah. And if I'm eating something lean, if I'm eating hamburger, if I'm eating lean venison, there's going to be a whole stick of butter sitting there, and I'm going to eat probably 3/4 to a whole stick because there's going to be a pat of butter on each bite of protein.
Linus Helix asks, can you change into a type 1? That may sound like a dumb question, yet it is a question. So, no. Type 2 and type 1 are separate diseases. But you may have that, what Paul has, the LDAP, right?
LADA.
LADA. And what's that stand for again?
Latent adult diabetic syndrome, atrophy or something. I can't remember.
Let me look it up here.
I have to see it 500 times before I don't have good verbal skills. Sorry.
Latent autoimmune diabetes in adults.
Adults. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's often misdiagnosed as type 2 because it appears later in life and may not require insulin immediately, but LADA is actually a subtype of type 1 diabetes. So,
and there are people, I found this out in my research, there are people out there who kind of swing back and forth, particularly early in their diabetic diagnosis. Sometimes they respond as a type 1, sometimes they respond as a type 2. And it's just, diabetes can be difficult.
Yeah. So like in Paul's situation, the most likely scenario, in my opinion, and of course you and your doctor may have different opinions, is I think you were originally diagnosed as type 2, but I think that was a misdiagnosis. You actually are type 1 with the LADA. So, and later they've told you have the LADA. That's why you probably will never get off the insulin because you have LADA. Your doctors have told you that, and that's a subset of type 1 diabetes. Now, with that said, type 2 over time can worsen, and your beta cell loss can get worse and worse and worse. So you're producing less and less and less insulin, but that's still not technically a conversion from type 2 to type 1. So the answer to your question is no. Type 2 cannot become type 1. You usually have one or the other. So Lambs says pasteurized milk lacks the enzymes to digest it. Yes, exactly. That's why people can drink, that are lactose intolerant, can't drink pasteurized milk, but they can drink raw milk. Raw is way better. Not sure if we really need it though. Yeah, no, milk is optional. You know, there's no other animal that goes and drinks another mammal's milk besides a human. So it's definitely not needed. But you are right. The enzymes to digest, there's lactase. That's what it's called. Lactase is in raw dairy. And therefore, you need the lactase to break down the lactose. In pasteurized dairy, the lactase is missing.
Yep.
And unless your body produces lactase on its own as an adaptation, then the pasteurized dairy is going to mess you up. And in reality, only like 20% of the human population can drink pasteurized milk.
Yep.
Mediterranean D is late to the party. This is 10:05. This is our last comment, by the way. Here to make life easy, he says. Well, thank you. Take retatrutide, MOTS C. I don't know what that is. Lift weights, eat plenty of protein and tons of fruit. You will gain muscle and lose fat at the same time and cure all metabolic illness. Thank you. Yeah, I have no problem with your statement. So that's called an animal-based diet, which is a part of the proper human diet spectrum. So yeah, I completely agree. So you can look at Paul Saladino, former carnivore. Now he incorporates fruit and honey, fit as a fiddle. You know, the guy knows what he's talking about. He wrote the book on Carnivore Code. Excellent book, most thoroughly researched book in existence when it comes to carnivore. He's not a dummy. So
I don't see any use for the fruit, but you know, you do you if that's what works for you.
Yeah. So, you know, well, I'm not going to sit here and say fruits and vegetables are bad. I'm not going to sit here and demonize carbohydrates. I will demonize processed food in a heartbeat, you know. But I am, you know, if you've been on this channel long enough to know that my diet philosophy is expressed in various ways. It's carnivore centric. It's on a scale of 0 to 100 carbs that are single ingredient whole foods. It's devoid of any grains, refined sugar, and seed oils, you know, because those are industrial foods usually. Another way I like to express it is if I can hunt it, milk it, pluck it off a vine or a branch, and it not make me sick in its raw state, it's probably okay. So, and that's why I also rule out like beans, because most beans and nuts you can't eat raw. You will get deadly ill. And so, you know, if something you eat in its natural form makes you deadly ill, can you say, this is what God gave you to eat? For me, that's a no, you know? So if I can eat it, if I can pluck it off a vine or a branch and eat it and I don't get ill, then can I say that's something that God provided me to eat? Yeah. Yep. So for me, that's very simple. So
all that I've made is good for you.
You know, and many of the Amish farmers have a very wonderful relationship with God and the animals provided, and it being natural for us. They have an amazing, the way they think about it is just so natural. They think milk is just a very natural thing, as it comes from the cow. You know, they're all about that, and and they believe eggs should not be washed. Eggs should not be, you know.
Well, they don't need to be washed.
Right.
No, you can. I mean, I usually, if I get farm fresh eggs, I'll wash it before I crack it open into the pan, like that very second.
That's the only time you should wash them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can take them straight from the chicken, and washing removes the bloom. The bloom is what protects it from bacteria getting in through the porous shell.
Right.
You go over to Europe, most countries, the eggs are not refrigerated.
Right.
They're out there in the middle of the store, because as long as you don't wash that bloom off, they're protected from outside bacteria.
Yep.
Once you wash them, you have to refrigerate them.
Yep.
All right. Very good. All right. Well, it's 11:10. That's exhausts all our questions, and we've dropped from 63 viewers down to 32. So I think everybody's tired and ready for bed. I am. How about you guys?
Yep.
All right. So
Adios.
thank you all the viewers who are stuck with us till the end or have bounced in and out throughout the evening. We really appreciate you having here. Thank you for all the questions in the chat. We did get to every single one of them. Like I said, it's a promise. We never sign off till we've addressed every single question. And if you didn't see your question answered, rewind and look for it. I should start marking them with a timestamp or something, maybe. I don't know. Anyhow, and then thank you to all our on-screen participants for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob.
Yep.
It was a good night. Learned a lot.
All right.
Thank
Our
you.
on-screen participants will get some bonus entries in our giveaway, which there's only 5 days left to enter. Go to carnivoretalk.com for more information. That's it. We will see you all next Monday. I'm going to take a shower and hit the hay.
Good night, y'all.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.
And we're